Chapter 67. Swoosh! A condensed white beam of light shot out from Mu Feng's fingertip. It was as sharp as a shooting star as it flew across the sky and headed straight for He Xian's chest. No one had expected such a sudden turn of events. Previously, in everyone's eyes, Mu Feng was an idiot. Moreover, he was a shameless idiot. He probably didn't have any skills, but he had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. However, just now, not only did Mu Feng block He Xian's attack head-on, he even launched such a swift and violent counterattack. It was truly surprising. Humph! He Xian's eyes turned cold. His long sword trembled and instantly transformed into a sharp sword shadow that clashed head-on with the white beam of light. Bang! The violent collision of forces caused scattered True Yuan to scatter wantonly on the stage. A chaotic gale swept across the stage and the sound of waves could be heard in the air. Against Mu Feng, He Xian, who was at the first level of the natal opening realm, was actually unable to gain any advantage. Is this what you meant by, "I have no chance to counterattack"? Mu Feng mocked disdainfully. He Xian was extremely annoyed. The sharp and dazzling sword light quickly climbed up the body of his sword, and a cold and harsh murderous aura spread out from the arena. Humph, I've underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be so good at pretending to be a fool. Sorry, I've never been a fool. That's just what you think. Just as he finished speaking, Mu Feng took a step forward. His nimble footwork gave rise to an imposing aura that was not any weaker than his opponent's. One after another, white beams of light shot out from Mu Feng's fingers. Every single beam of light was filled with a power that caused people's hearts to palpitate. He Xian didn't dare to underestimate Mu Feng anymore. He continuously transformed into dazzling sword qi to face his opponent. In an instant, the wind on the arena became chaotic. The confrontation between the two caused the airflow in all directions to become turbulent. How can Senior Mu Feng be so powerful? Below the arena, Li Hui's eyes were wide open and his face was filled with astonishment. Zhou Lu's eyes were wide open, and her eyebrows were full of surprise. From the beginning to the end, Mu Feng had been playing the fool. He had been waiting for this moment to play the pig to eat the tiger. Senior Brother Chu Hen, did you already know Senior Brother Mu Feng's true strength? A new student from Tensei Prefecture asked. Chu Hen shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. However, Chu Hen didn't think that Mu Feng was pretending to be crazy before. His usual comical personality couldn't be faked. It could only be said that he dealt with things differently. The power of the demon eye, Chu Hen shouted, and a strange power began to circulate in his body. Along with a wave of scorching heat, a faint purple radiance surged within Chu Hen's pair of pupils. There was a burst of visual distortion, and in an instant, the flow of the true essence of the two people on the arena immediately appeared in Chu Hen's mind. That is, the corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and a trace of surprise flashed on his handsome face. With the power of the demon eye, Chu Hen could clearly see that the white light beam that Mu Feng displayed was not an ordinary move that was condensed from true essence. It was similar to the shadow of a sword. A sword shadow wrapped in white light? Moreover, there was no sword in Mu Feng's palm at all. He used his fingers as a sword, an invisible sword, buzz buzz. Chu Hen retracted the power of the demon eye, and his pupils returned to a deep, normal color. Mu Feng wasn't an ordinary person. Chu Hen heaved a sigh of relief, and there was some confusion between his brows. He couldn't help but shake his head and pondered. An ordinary person couldn't display this invisible sword shadow at all. It seemed that there was an unknown secret behind Mu Feng. Of course, Chu Hen was just curious about it. No matter who Mu Feng was, it wouldn't affect the relationship between the two of them. After all, from the beginning until now, Mu Feng had never done anything to hurt Chu Hen. Moreover, everyone had their own secret. Take Chu Hen for example. He also had a shocking secret that he couldn't tell anyone. Heh, I didn't expect that Tensei Prefecture could recruit such a talent. In the Tifeng province area, Ren Chong looked at the battle on the arena playfully. He should be the strongest newcomer in Tensei Prefecture this year. A young man said casually. Is that so? Ren Chong was surprised. He looked at Yi Yu beside him and said with a frivolous smile, if that's the case, it'll be too boring. I was hoping that someone could take more than 10 moves from me. Yi Yu's expression didn't change, and she replied calmly, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Someone doesn't have that ability. Ren Chong laughed without saying anything. The battle on the arena was getting more and more intense. The white light beam and the sharp sword shadow kept colliding, and the arena was already full of holes. Rocks were flying everywhere, and dust was flying. He Xian and Mu Feng kept fighting fiercely. On the surface, He Xian had more or less the upper hand. However, compared to Mu Feng, He Xian had the advantage of having an additional weapon. Boom! A violent shockwave exploded between the two of them, and the two of them quickly retreated. Buzz! At the same time, a strong white light burst out from Mu Feng's body, and the violent energy fluctuations caused the surrounding air to become chaotic. The spectators below the stage could clearly see the surging true origin power quickly gathering in Mu Feng's hands. Moreover, it gathered at the tips of his 10 fingers. The astonishing power was rapidly agitated and restless. See if I don't torture you like a dog. Swoosh, swoosh, before his voice faded, Mu Feng spread out his 10 fingers. Accompanied by a series of trembling sounds in the air, a solid white light beam flew out from the fingertips of his 10 fingers. The solid white light beam dragged a nearly transparent air wave in the air, sweeping towards He Xian from different angles. The piercingly cold aura was comparable to an arrow released from a bow, unstoppable. Good! Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the other newcomers of Tensei Prefecture secretly cheered. The newcomers and geniuses of the other martial houses were all shocked. He Xian's slightly shrunken pupils reflected the 10 piercingly cold light beams that were flying towards him. In the next instant, the true essence of the first level of the element opening stage was released from his body without reservation. He Xian held his sword horizontally in front of him, and dozens of thick sword qi rapidly revolved around the blade. Accompanied by a trembling sound, the surging sword qi immediately condensed into a wide illusory sword in front of He Xian. Do you think you can hurt me with this little bit of ability? Sword qi shield. Boom! 10 white light beams continuously attacked the illusory sword in front of He Xian, and the ferocious impact was like a huge boulder that came crashing down one after another. Under the astonished gazes of the thousands of people present, the 10 white light beams exploded with a dazzling light. With He Xian at the center, the air constantly emitted the sound of rushing wind. Bang! The illusory sword in front of He Xian was instantly shattered, and the surging attack swept down like a surging tide. The moment the 10 white light beams attacked He Xian's body, they astonishingly transformed into 10 illusory and transparent illusory sword qi. What was going on? Many people below the stage could not help but stand up from their seats, expressions of shock surging on their faces. The white light beams actually contained illusory sword qi. How did Mu Feng do it? Hiss! Before the crowd could recover from their shock, the 10 illusory swords had already landed on He Xian's body. In an instant, 10 bloody gashes appeared on He Xian's clothes. A sharp pain spread throughout his body, and the flames of endless anger rose. Bastard, I will tear you into 1,000 pieces. The 10 white light beams did not harm He Xian's vitals, but they made him look extremely miserable. He Xian was burning with rage, his eyes filled with killing intent towards Mu Feng. However, just as he was about to explode with rage, Mu Feng made a decision that no one expected. Stop, I'm not fighting anymore. Victory is yours. Not fighting anymore? Everyone in the audience was stunned. What was he trying to do now? Bastard, the outcome hasn't been decided yet. Don't you dare get off the stage. Xian was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Why do you care? Mu Feng had a "what can you do to me" expression on his face. He immediately jumped off the stage without hesitation, then swaggered back to the Tensei Prefecture area. The sudden change of events caused everyone present to be unable to recover from their shock. Everything was fine, but he suddenly stopped fighting. What the hell was Mu Feng doing? What's going on? Is he afraid of death? Who knows? He stopped halfway through the fight. What a scam! The audience was in a constant uproar, and Xian, who was in the arena, was really exasperated. This kind of victory was no different from a defeat. Mu Feng injured Xian and then admitted defeat. This was obviously not giving Xian a chance to take revenge. Not only was Xian livid, but even the people from the Bright Moon Academy were extremely depressed. Senior brother Mu Feng, why did you stop fighting? You can win. Li Hui asked, still confused. Mu Feng smiled disapprovingly. I think it's about time. There's no need to continue fighting. You're afraid that you might accidentally kill him, right? Chu Hen's indifferent voice followed. Mu Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. He received the deep meaning in Chu Hen's eyes, but he only smiled and did not say anything. This round of competition inexplicably ended. Xian still remained in the arena, obviously intending to continue fighting. However, looking at Xian's gloomy and ashen face, none of the high-ranked martial houses below the stage dared to step up. Everyone knew that Xian was in a fit of rage right now. He would definitely vent all of his anger on his next opponent. Who would dare to provoke him if they didn't have the ability? At this moment, a tall and lithe figure walked out from the giant Elephant Martial House's team and directly flashed onto the arena. Everyone's eyes lit up. Chapter 68. It's Yu Chenyu looking at the tall, slender, and elegant figure that ascended the martial arena. The eyes of the audience couldn't help but brighten. The male students of the various high-ranked martial houses began to lose their calm. Miss Chenyu, you can do it. Senior Chenyu, we support you. It had to be said that as one of the 6 pearls of the imperial city, Yu Chenyu's popularity was really high. The audience immediately burst into an uproar of cheers and shouts. Yi Yu, who was in the Tifeng province's seating area, could not help but frown. A strange look appeared in her eyes. Miss Chenyu, nice to meet you. Xian's voice was slightly cold and his face was slightly dark and green. The fight with Mu Feng just now had caused him to have a bellyful of anger. Yu Chenyu's palm moved, a dazzling white light flashed, and a sword appeared in her slender white hand. The sword was more than 3 feet long and was inlaid with exquisite gems. There was a faint metallic sound in the air. It was obviously not an ordinary weapon. Make your move. Yu Chenyu's red lips moved slightly. Her beautiful face was calm without a single ripple. Xian's eyes flashed coldly and a fierce aura exploded from his body. Miss Chenyu, I'm sorry. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Xian rushed forward like a gust of wind. Surging true essence flowed along his right hand and extended towards the sword in his hand. The light was bright and dazzling. Facing the menacing Xian, Yu Chenyu stood motionlessly in place. The crowd below the stage were all confused, wondering what was wrong with Yu Chenyu. Hey, Miss Chenyu, are you scared silly? Xian sneered. The sword in his hand released a dazzling golden light. The wind howled and the sharp shadow of the sword pierced through the air towards Yu Chenyu. The speed of the sword was extremely fast and extremely cold. However, when Xian was less than 2 meters away from Yu Chenyu, a circle of jade-green light suddenly appeared from within Yu Chenyu's body. Yu Chenyu's beautiful eyes focused. Her red lips opened slightly and she said in a soft voice, "Spirit vine trap, boom!" Rubble flew everywhere, and the stone bricks on the table suddenly burst open. A green vine instantly rushed out from the ground, and with lightning speed, it wrapped around Xian's right wrist. Whoosh! Xian's sword momentum was stopped in an instant, and the sharp sword in his hand stopped in midair. The edge of the sword was emitting a dazzling light, but it was unable to advance any further. This is Miss Chen Yu's ancient tree combat constitution? Everyone below the arena widened their eyes as shock surged in their eyes. He Xian's expression changed even more, and he hurriedly switched his attack, switching the sharp sword in his right hand to his left hand. However, Yu Chenyu clearly did not want to give her opponent any chance to counterattack. Bang! Yu Chenyu spun around agilely. Her soft and delicate body drew a beautiful arc in the air as she kicked her opponent's chin. Caught off guard, He Xian flew out along with his sword. He rolled a few times on the table before coming to a stop. The battle quietly ended. Seeing He Xian lying on the ground, unable to get up, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Beautiful, senior sister Chen Yu is too powerful. Simply perfect, haha. The genius students of the giant elephant martial house were all in jubilation. Even Chu Hen, who was in the Tensei prefecture, could not help but show some surprise. Compared to 2 months ago, Yu Chenyu's strength had greatly improved. However, this was not strange. In such a big imperial city, there were all kinds of monstrous geniuses. Wow, 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 I didn't expect Miss Chen Yu to be so powerful. I, little Feng Feng, have decided she will be my first target in the future. Sigh, senior brother Mu Feng, can you be normal for a while? Li Hui, who was at the side, sighed. Damn, how is this handsome Feng abnormal? You guys are abnormal. He Xian was helped off the stage by a few new students of the Bright Moon Academy. In next to no time, another young man ascended the arena. Azure River Martial House, Chong Hui. I hope senior sister Chen Yu can spar with me. Let's begin. Senior sister Chen Yu, be careful. The arena, which had just stopped for a short while, was once again filled with an intense battle. The sword in Yu Chenyu's hand was surrounded by a gentle green light, as if it was extracted from the essence of wood. Yu Chenyu's swordsmanship was not ordinary. Combined with the power of the ancient tree battle physique, she immediately gained the upper hand. Bang! Together with a powerful sword shadow that cut through the air, Chong Hui of the Azure River Martial House was directly struck off the stage. In less than half a cup of tea's time, Yu Chenyu had easily obtained 2 consecutive victories. There was no doubt that it was exciting. Not only the students of the giant elephant martial house, but even the supporters of the other martial houses were cheering for Yu Chenyu. Blue Maple Academy, Song Si. I hope senior sister you can give me a pointer or two. Time passed by minute. The atmosphere of the entire Monarch Arrival Pavilion became more and more lively. The momentum of the people on the arena continued to rise. In the following period of time, Yu Chenyu could be said to be shining brightly. In a row of 5 matches, the 5 genius students of different martial houses were all defeated by Yu Chenyu. All of them were defeated by Yu Chenyu. The audience could clearly see that every one of Yu Chenyu's opponents had reached the elemental opening realm. Moreover, they fought with all their strength, and no one deliberately went easy on her. Senior sister Chenyu is indeed amazing. I heard that after the giant elephant martial house's assessment, Miss Chenyu was greatly stimulated. In the following 2 months, she would practically practice her swordsmanship for more than 6 hours every day. Is that so? What stimulated her? During the assessment, she was almost injured by the scale-armored bear. This has always left her with a grudge. Apart from Rin Chong of Tifeng Province, Yang Yute of Imperial Martial School, and a few others whose expressions did not change, everyone else had a look of amazement on their faces. Would Soul Sword slash? Along with a cold shout, an incomparably powerful sword light turned into a circle of rising tide that swept forward. Boom! A powerful aura leaked out from Yu Chenyu's body. The vigorous sword chi swept across half of the arena, and like a raging tide, it struck the body of a young man in front of her. In the next moment, under the excited gazes of the audience, that person was directly blasted off the arena. Boom! Immediately after, The atmosphere of the monarch arrival pavilion once again rose to an unprecedented height, and all sorts of jubilant shouts rose and fell. 6 consecutive victories. Beautiful! Congratulations, Senior Sister Chinyu, for obtaining 6 consecutive victories. Listening to the surrounding cheers, Renchong, who was in the Tifeng province area, rubbed his chin and said with a frivolous smile, "Hee, we've been playing around for so long, it's about time." Chapter 69. Beautiful, 6 wins in a row. Congratulations, Senior Sister Chinyu, for her 6th win in a row. Starting from defeating He Xian, Yu Chinyu had won 6 matches in a row. She was not inferior to any man, and had won all 6 matches. This caused countless people present to exclaim in admiration. The audience burst into enthusiastic applause, especially the new disciples of the Mammoth Martial House. They were happy for Yu Chinyu's perfect performance. Yu Chinyu stood on the stage, dazzling like the stars in the sky. Her beautiful eyes twinkled as she looked at the seating area of the Tensei Prefecture with a faint smile. Look at me, hee, Miss Chinyu is looking at me." Mu Feng cheerfully waved his hand and stood on his tiptoes. Li Hui shook his head and sighed. "Ai, thinking too much is also a problem." Receiving Yu Chinyu's slightly proud gaze, Chu Hen could not help but reveal a faint smile on his face. In these 2 months, Yu Chinyu's strength had indeed increased by a lot. Chu Hen was also happy for her. "Junior Sister Chinyu's strength is amazing. I am Ling Chang. I hope Junior Sister will not be stingy with your guidance." A frivolous and playful voice came from the direction of the Mammoth Martial House. Everyone was startled, and their gazes swept towards the young figure walking towards the stage. The other party was tall and sturdy. His appearance was ordinary, but he exuded a heroic aura. The Mammoth Martial House finally can't help but make a move. Ling Chang's strength is quite good. Yu Chinyu's winning streak is definitely going to end. There's no doubt about it. Ling Chang's appearance caused the atmosphere of the audience to become much more restless. The new disciples of the Mammoth Martial House could not help but secretly worry for Yu Chinyu. Under everyone's gazes, Ling Chang stepped onto the stage. An invisible pressure was released from his body, and the dust around his feet flew into the air. "Junior Sister Chinyu, please." Ling Chang slightly raised his left arm and made a gesture of invitation. However, Yu Chinyu had no intention of fighting. She raised her eyebrows and pouted her lips. She shook her head and said, "I'm done. I'm dying of exhaustion. You win." The crowd burst into an uproar as soon as he said that. Indeed, he had fought 6 battles in a row, and all of them were opponents whose cultivation levels were not lower than his. Yu Chinyu had already used up all of the true yuan in his body. Not to mention Ling Chang, who was stronger than her. Even if it was another opponent who was weaker than her, Yu Chinyu would not necessarily continue to fight. Immediately, Yu Chinyu nimbly and gracefully descended from the arena and returned to the giant Elephant Martial House's seating area. No one felt that there was anything wrong with Yu Chinyu's actions. On the contrary, her intelligence and personality of not being obsessed with winning or losing made people appreciate her even more. "Since Junior Sister Chinyu has chosen to forfeit, who is willing to come up and fight me?" Forfeit, willing. Ling Chang's choice of words could be considered modest, but his tone wasn't. A proud expression appeared on his face. This was a provocation that seemed low-key, but was actually arrogant. Everyone's eyes unconsciously swept over Renchong, Yang Yute, Shu Shuero, He Chao, and the other geniuses. As the leader of the Consonance Martial House's new disciples, Ling Chang's strength naturally did not need to be mentioned. The only ones that could be compared to him were the top geniuses of the other 4 most famous high-ranked martial houses. "Haha, it's been a small fight for so long, it's time to end it." An indifferent chuckle entered everyone's ears from the Emperor Wind Martial House's seating area, causing everyone's eyes to light up. It's senior brother Renchong. After waiting for so long, it's finally his turn. What comes next is the truly wonderful moment. the king of Tifeng province's newcomers, Ren Chong. As soon as he appeared, the entire audience's atmosphere immediately surged. This was what it meant to be extremely popular and popular. Under the cheers of the audience, Ren Chong stepped onto the arena. His eyebrows were full of frivolity, and he ridiculed with disdain. "Do you want to go down now? Or do you want me to send you down later?" It was also a provocation, but his words were filled with arrogance. Even so, no one present felt that Ren Chong was in any way wrong. Looking at the entire audience, in the entire star competition, only Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute and Shu Shuero were qualified to be looked at by Ren Chong. Ling Chong frowned when he felt the shapeless pressure emitted from Ren Chong's body. His face sank slightly as he laughed coldly. It's rare for me to have a chance to compete with senior brother Ren Chong on the same stage. How can I miss such a good opportunity? So, Ren Chong's face was still full of playfulness. So, I ask senior brother Ren Chong to give me some pointers. Buzz? As soon as he finished speaking, a black saber appeared in Ling Chang's hand. The saber was over 3 feet long, and the blade was like a ray of light, emitting a biting cold and domineering aura. Along with it, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from Ling Chang's body. The raging aura was like that of a ferocious beast. "Senior brother Ren Chong, be careful," Ling Chang shouted, and a surging aura surged towards Ren Chong, who was in front of him. When the distance between him and Ren Chong was less than 5 meters, Ling Chang leapt up. His hands gripped the saber hilt, and he raised it high above his head, chopping down at Ren Chong's head with the force of splitting a mountain. Buzz, waves of air trembled on the martial stage. Thick true essence surged out from Ling Chang's body, and rapidly gathered on the saber blade. Circles of clearly visible black light lingered around the saber blade like soft ripples of water. Ling Chang's attack had an astonishing aura that seemed as if it would cut Ren Chong in half. "Ren Chong can't dodge. Senior brother Ling Chang has taken the initiative." A genius disciple of the Spirit Rhino Martial House clenched his fists, his face filled with excitement. "You've lost." Ling Chang's eyes were filled with a fierce light. "Haha, that's not necessarily true." Ren Chong's mouth curved in a disdainful smile. Just a second before Ling Chang's attack fell, a chain shrouded in golden light suddenly burst out from Ren Chong's sleeves. Swish, the iron chain that was as thick as an arm traversed through the air, and it directly blocked in front of Ling Chang like a chain that crossed a river. Bang! The saber in Ling Chang's hand firmly chopped down on the iron chain, and a string of sparks splashed out. The sky above the martial stage seemed to slightly tremble, and the shocking collision of strength shocked the entire audience. At the point where the saber and the iron chain met, a layer of material air waves spread out like ripples on water. A chaotic strong wind raged, and sand and stones flew about on the stage. However, the might of Ling Chang's tyrannical rage was actually completely blocked by the iron chain that traversed in front of him. The iron chain trembled violently without end, and it was like a poisonous snake that twisted its body. Is this the soul lock battle physique that was passed down in the Ren clan? It's really amazing! A cry of surprise sounded out from the crowd below the stage. The soul lock battle physique's full name was the soul assimilating lock physique. This was the bloodline limit that was passed down in the Ren clan. This bloodline limit was capable of both offense and defense, and it was ever-changing. It could be used in both close combat and long-range attacks. Ren Chong had once relied on the strength of the soul lock battle physique to challenge opponents of a higher cultivation than him, and he was undefeated. Boom! Without waiting for the audience to recover from their shock, a mocking smile appeared on Ren Chong's face once again. Accompanied by an even more violent fluctuation of power, another golden iron chain shot out from Ren Chong's left sleeve. The swift and powerful iron chain was nimble like a poisonous snake that had launched an attack. It flew out and swept horizontally towards Ling Chang. At this moment, Ling Chang didn't even have a foothold in the air. With the iron chain blocking in front of him, he couldn't advance or retreat. Moreover, Rin Chong didn't give his opponent the slightest time to react. Pung! The cold and hard iron chain solidly smashed into Ling Chang's chest, and the incomparably heavy impact was comparable to the impact of a mountain. Ling Chang's tiger body violently trembled, and his blood surged up. A large mouthful of blood immediately gushed out from his mouth. What? Everyone below the stage paled, especially the new disciples of Spirit Rhino Martial House. All of them stared with wide eyes. Ling Chang couldn't even withstand a single move from Rin Chong? The golden iron chain directly flung Ling Chang away. Victory had obviously been decided, but Rin Chong still didn't have any intention of stopping. He lifted his hands, and the two iron chains that he controlled moved upward. Xiao, the two iron chains crossed the air, extending 5 to 6 meters in length. One in front and one behind, they sealed off Ling Chang's retreat. Iron chains crossing the river, unable to advance or retreat. This was Ling Chang's current situation. Hee, after challenging me, you still have to pay a price. Rin Chong smirked and said. Ling Chang's pupils shrank, and his face instantly turned deathly white. No. Pring ping, two muffled sounds seemed to overlap as the two golden iron chains smashed into Ling Chang's chest and back one after the other. The terrifying impact from both front and back shattered Ling Chang's sternum on the spot, and his 5 internal organs were displaced. Pung! Under the countless shocked gazes of the audience, Ling Chang fell onto the stage like a pile of mud. Scarlet blood continuously gushed out from his mouth. His eyes were wide open as he lay on the ground. His body trembled, his face turned purple, and his veins popped out. Hiss! The appearance of this scene caused everyone present to suck in a breath of cold air. Pairs of eyes that looked at Rin Chong were filled with awe and fear. Such a method was truly ruthless. With Ling Chang's injuries, it would probably take at least half a year for him to recover. This Rin Chong was simply a malefic star, and it was best not to provoke him. In just 3 moves, Ling Chang had suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Rin Chong. His ruthless methods, however, caused Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute and Shu Shuero to frown. On the other hand, Tifeng Province's side was filled with cheers. Looking at the current situation, this year's Star Elite competition would be won by Tifeng Province. Whoosh! Suddenly, when everyone was in a state of shock, Ren Chong, who was on the stage, made another move. He hooked the end of the iron chain onto Ling Chang's saber that was scattered on the stage. Everyone was shocked, but they saw the iron chain lift, and the saber suddenly flew out. The direction the saber flew towards was the outermost corner of the stage. This area was impressively the direction where Tensei Prefecture was located. Pung! The sharp edge of the saber cut through the air, directly piercing through a table, and stood side by side on the table. Everyone from Tensei Prefecture was shocked to the point of retreating. Only Chu Hen was still quietly sitting on the chair, and there was not a trace of emotion on his handsome face. Rin Chong versus Chu Hen? The surrounding people were stunned once again. Chapter 70. Junlai Pavilion. The lights were dim and the light was dazzling. The Star Elites tournament had attracted countless onlookers, and on the second floor of the Sovereign Arrival Pavilion, there were 2 middle-aged men sitting by the window. One of them was well-built and had a gentle expression. It was the elder mentor of Tensei Prefecture, Song Chunglai. Opposite Song Chunglai sat a man in black. The latter was leisurely drinking the wine in his glass. He tasted it carefully first, then finished it in one gulp. There was a faint look of satisfaction on his face. Good wine, haha. Oh right, Chunglai, you've never come to the Star Genius competition before. Why did you drag me here this year? The man in black raised his head and looked at Song Chunglai, revealing a rather pale face. You'll know later, Shadowless. Song Chunglai replied, but his attention was still on the square downstairs where the new geniuses from the various martial houses were gathered. Shadowless was one of the core mentors of Tensei Prefecture. Even among the instructors of the various martial houses in the imperial capital, he was a rather famous figure. His popularity in Tensei Prefecture was second only to Shilan. However, seeing Song Qinglie's rather serious expression, Shadowless glanced at the square below and shook his head. He said, boring. A bunch of new people competing, nothing to see. If you didn't treat me to a drink, I wouldn't have come. The Star Genius competition could be said to be organized by the various martial houses and academies in the imperial city. The mentors of the academies would not participate. Even so, there were still many mentors who would pay attention to the students of their own martial houses. Other than Song Qinglai and Shadowless, there were also mentors from other martial houses who were gathered here. However, they would not show up at such an occasion. In a unique private room by the window on the third floor of the Jun Lai Pavilion, a handsome young man had a somewhat frivolous smile on his face. On the chest area of his luxurious shirt, there was a blazing sun pattern that exuded an arrogant aura. Wei Qingfan, one of the famous geniuses in Tifeng Province. His cultivation level had long entered the core transformation stage. Young master, the show is about to begin. The middle-aged man behind him, Wei Han, spoke with a low voice that was filled with coldness. A playful smile appeared on Wei Qingfan's face. He crossed his right arm in front of him and held an exquisite wine glass in his left hand. He muttered softly, after dragging it out for 2 months, it can finally be over. Hee, I believe that Miss Yi will like everything that young master has arranged for her. I think so, In a quiet and inconspicuous place on the second floor of the Monarch Arrival Pavilion, a beautiful figure as cold as ice stood quietly by the windowsill. There was not the slightest flaw in her exquisite appearance. Her elegant and refined temperament was like a snow lotus on an iceberg. Long Xuanxuang's beautiful eyes rippled with a hint of coldness. Previously, when we were in Blazing Rain City, I reminded you that it's best to keep your distance from that woman, Yiyu. Now, what should you choose? The arena. Countless different pairs of eyes were gathered together in unison. You, get your ass up here. The newcomer king of Tifeng Province, Ren Chong, looked down at Chu Hen, who was below the arena, and taunted him with an incomparably disdainful tone. Humiliation, this was a blatant humiliation. Ren Chong directly swung his blade towards the opponent, and directly stabbed it into the table beside Chu Hen. In front of the thousands or even tens of thousands of people. There was no provocation that was more insulting than this. Everyone's expression changed. Many people secretly broke out in cold sweat for Chu Hen, but even more people were rejoicing in his misfortune, casting disdainful gazes. Because the person on the arena was Ren Chong, the strongest genius among this year's newcomers. And the person below the arena was Chu Hen, a person from Tensei Prefecture who was at the bottom of the rankings. Chu Hen's expression was calm, but his eyes were already filled with an icy cold light. At this moment, Chu Hen could be 100% sure that everything Liang Yiming said to him was the truth. A cold killing intent rapidly brewed in Chu Hen's heart. Everyone stared at Chu Hen. Some were anxious, some were indifferent, and some were disdainful. The Tifeng Province's Yi Yao's small face was taut, her silver teeth biting her red lips, her face full of worry. She could not help but turn her pleading gaze towards Yi Yu, hoping that her sister would be able to help Chu Hen resolve his current awkward situation. However, when she saw Yi Yu's faint smile, Yi Yao's entire person seemed to have sunk into an icehouse. Her sister was actually very happy? Seeing Chu Hen being provoked and humiliated by Ren Chong, Yi Yu actually smiled? Yi Yao's small hand clenched the corner of her shirt tightly, her knuckles faintly turning white. At this moment, the kind sister in her eyes seemed somewhat unfamiliar. What's wrong? Are you so scared that you don't even dare to speak? Ren Chong sneered and shouted in a cold and disdainful voice, since you don't dare to go up to the arena, then scram now. Or, you can kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, begging me to let you go, and I won't cause trouble for you in the future. disdain, frivolous, sarcasm. Everyone in the arena looked as if they were watching a show. "You're simply too much." Mu Feng was the first to explode. He shouted angrily, "Bastard, I'll fight on his behalf." "Hey, who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of fighting with me?" "Humph, you." Mu Feng was about to scold him again when a cold and stern figure had already stood up from his seat. The firm and determined silhouette exuded a cold and austere aura. "I'll solve my own problem myself." Every word was as sharp as a needle. Everyone's expression changed. They all looked at Chu Hen in surprise. "Chu Hen, you." Mu Feng frowned. "Senior brother Chu Hen, don't let your emotions affect your decisions," Li Huiyi also hurriedly advised. "Humph." The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a cold arc. He turned to look at the crowd next to him, and a sharp, cold light flashed in his eyes. "I didn't say anything just now because I was thinking about how to kill him later." "Kill him?" His cold tone was like the north wind in the winter, penetrating deep into the bones. Especially the last three words, it was like a sharp knife that pierced straight into the hearts of the crowd. Everyone's expression changed again and again. They only felt a chill run down their spine. Apart from being shocked, most of them expressed disdain. "Is this guy crazy? How dare you say such shameless words?" Even Lingxi Martial House's Ling Chong couldn't take 3 of Rinchong's moves, and he still dares to say that he will kill Rinchong. He's probably dizzy from fear. As long as he really dares to go on stage, he will definitely die without even knowing how. The crowd was filled with ridicule and disdain. Apart from Yi Yao, Yu Chenyu and a few others who were still worried about Chu Hen, everyone else had a look of ridicule on their faces. "Haha, how interesting." Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute smiled with interest and said, "This Tensei Prefecture is really getting worse year by year. At least the new recruits last year were more normal." Shu Shuero did not say anything. Her gentle and beautiful eyes only quietly looked at the stage in front of her. Under thousands of different gazes, Chu Hen steadily walked towards the stage. The youth's figure was straight like a sharp spear. His firm brows faintly surged with a fierce light. The smile on Rinchong's face grew wider as he glanced in the direction of the 3rd floor of the Monarch Arrival Pavilion. Wei Qinfan, who was in a private room on the 3rd floor, had a playful smile on his face. Ling Chong, who had been beaten half to death by Ren Chong in 3 moves, was carried off the arena by a few members of the Spirit Rhino Martial House. Looking at Ling Chang's miserable ending, in the eyes of the crowd, it was like Chu Hen's mistake was a warning. Ta-ta, his footsteps were steady, without the slightest bit of fear. Chu Hen's expression was calm as he stepped onto the fighting stage. Under his calm and tranquil face hid a ruthless fury that was comparable to the magma of a volcano. "He really dares to go on stage. That kid is dead for sure." The atmosphere gradually calmed down, as if everyone was waiting for Chu Hen to become the second Ling Chong. "Wait." Suddenly, an indifferent voice broke the atmosphere. Everyone couldn't help but look in the direction of the Bright Moon Academy. A slender and high-spirited figure walked out from the seat. "It's He Chao." "What does he want to do?" "I don't know." He Chao walked towards the stage with a playful smile on his face. He cupped his fists towards Rinchong and said with a faint smile, "Senior brother Rinchong, I have some personal grudges with junior brother Chu Hen. Can you let me settle this match?" As soon as these words were spoken, the entire audience burst into an uproar. It turned out that Chu Hen had offended more than one person. Rinchong raised an eyebrow and replied with interest, "You're going to fight him?" "Yes." "Then, what you're going to do next will satisfy me." "It will definitely satisfy senior brother Rinchong." Everyone could tell that both of them didn't want to let Chu Hen have an easy time. Looking at the malicious ruthlessness in He Chao's eyes, Rinchong smiled indifferently and raised his hand slightly, saying, "All right, then I'll let you have this match first. Thank you, senior brother Rinchong." Immediately, Ren Chong jumped off the stage and was about to return to the seats of the Tifeng province. However, at this moment, a cold voice stopped him. Don't be in a hurry to go back. Just stand by the side of the stage. You'll come up very soon. What? Everyone's heart was shocked. Chu Hen's face was already covered with a layer of cold frost. Ren Chong frowned. Then, he laughed mockingly and said, He good. I'll stand here and watch. If you have the ability, then let me go up. He Chao had the strength of the second rank of the elemental opening realm and the bloodline limit of the spiritual sword battle physique. There were only a few new students who could defeat him. How could Chu Hen say such arrogant words? Humph. He Chao sneered and jumped onto the stage. The biggest mistake you've made today is to appear here. Chapter 71. On the martial arts arena, a cold wind blew, a gentle night breeze blew, but it was faintly mixed with a trace of coldness. Ren Chong provoked, and Chu Hen accepted the challenge. Halfway through, He Chao appeared and wanted to settle old scores with Chu Hen. The development of the Star Elite competition was becoming more and more unexpected. But no matter what, Tensei Prefecture was always in a state of being attacked by everyone. From a group to an individual. The biggest mistake you made today was to appear here. A cold smile appeared on He Chao's face. A cold glint surged within Chu Hen's eyes. I'll return those words back to you. The crowd below the arena was in an uproar, and all kinds of disdainful and mocking voices rose and fell. That guy is really arrogant. I think there's a chance. I remember 2 months ago, Chu Hen and He Chao had a simple fight at the gate of Bright Moon Academy. Neither of them had the upper hand. Please, you said it yourself 2 months ago. 2 months ago, He Chao was only at the 9th level of Channel Opening Realm. Now, he has broken through to the 2nd level of Element Opening Realm. How can Chu Hen compare to him now? That's true. Other than the people of Tensei Prefecture, only Yi Yao, Yu Chenyu and a few others stood on Chu Hen's side. Everyone present knew that He Chao was indeed not easy to deal with. In addition to the grudges between the two of them, He Chao would definitely make things difficult for Chu Hen. You escaped quite quickly last time. Let's see where you can run to this time. Zeng! He Chao moved his palm, and a sharp sword appeared in his hand. A piercingly cold sword aura leaked out of his body, and dense true origin energy climbed up the sword's body like golden vines. Circles of golden light surrounded the sword's body, dazzling and dazzling. The sharp aura caused the air to tremble. Seeing He Chao's aura, the crowd below the arena was even more determined. Below the stage, Ren Chong crossed his arms in front of him with a frivolous smile on his face. On the other hand, Yi Yu, who was seated in the Tifeng province regional seat, revealed a faint smile. In her eyes, she and Chu Hen were people from 2 different worlds. She could quietly sit here and watch others wantonly humiliate Chu Hen. Soon, Chu Hen didn't even have the chance to raise his head in front of her. I won't run. Chu Hen sneered indifferently. At the same time, a terrifying chill gushed out of his body. Today, I will make you pay for what you have done to senior brother Haozi, with interest. Back then, Chu Hen had failed to enter the Bright Moon Academy. As a result, He Chao vented his anger on Haozi. If it wasn't for Chu Hen's timely discovery, what would have happened? Unimaginable. Now Chu Hen had to get his revenge. Hee, let's see if you have the ability. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, an amazing and powerful aura burst out from He Chao's body. A circle of invisible airwaves shocked the stones and gravel on the ground. Endless sword chi surrounded He Chao's body, forming a golden solid cyclone. The next moment, along with a strong power, the sharp sword in He Chao's hand shone brightly. Buzz buzz! The sound of the airwave trembling made the air on the arena chaotic. The sharp sword in He Chao's hand bloomed with a dazzling golden brilliance, and the sword chi became more and more vigorous. In the blink of an eye, a nearly 10-meter-high illusory sword shadow suddenly appeared behind He Chao. That is... Everyone under the stage looked at the illusory sword shadow behind He Chao in shock. It was sharp and exuded a palpitating aura. The bloodline limit of the spirit sword battle body is really amazing. It can actually condense such a powerful sword momentum. It seems that He Chao intends to get rid of that guy in one move. Senior brother He Chao is mighty. In the many exclamations below, everyone seemed to have seen Chu Hen's tragic end. Buzz. At this moment, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and the demon Punisher spear immediately appeared in his hand. The surging true qi instantly covered the body of the spear, and it burned restlessly like a vigorous flame. Hey! He Chao's face revealed a sinister smile. The sword qi that lingered outside his body quickly gathered toward the sharp sword in his hand, and an unusually fierce aura shook the airflow in all directions. Die! What an ignorant fool! Graceful sword! He Chao shouted, and the edge of the sword moved. The unstoppable sword momentum poured out like a raging tide. The speed of the sword was like lightning, and the momentum shook the whole arena. In a split second, a sword image that seemed to be real tore through the air. It dragged out a blast of air in the air, and whistled towards Chu Hen. Everyone present couldn't help but narrow their eyes. The sword image rapidly enlarged to a length of 5 to 6 meters as it moved. Circles of white air ripples rapidly rotated at the tip of the sword's edge. The unstoppable violent wind surged toward Chu Hen. He Chao's sword had an imposing aura that seemed to want to kill Chu Hen on the spot. Brother Chu Hen. Yao couldn't help but stand up from her seat, and her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Just when everyone thought that Chu Hen was about to be defeated by this sword, a shocking surging aura suddenly rose from Chu Hen's body. The biting cold true qi swept in all directions. Arg, along with a sharp ghost howl, the demon Punisher spear in Chu Hen's hand instantly turned scarlet. The entire spear was blood red, and even the spear edge was the same. That is? The dazzling scarlet demon Punisher's spear seemed to be soaked in blood, and it was demonic and murderous. Buzz. In the next second, Chu Hen directly sent the demon Punisher spear out, and the incomparably violent power was like a volcanic eruption, and the dazzling blood-red light was released wantonly. An ice-cold aura enveloped more than half of the arena. Gale Blood Shadow Spear. Boom. An especially heavy and violent vibration exploded on the arena, and the demon Punisher's spear directly collided with the powerful sword shadow. A golden sword shadow, a red spear shadow, the two shocking shockwaves were like two torrents converging and merging. Crisscrossing cracks spread on the arena, and every inch of the rubble was shattered like a swarm of startled moths. He caught it? That guy actually caught Senior He Chao's sword with all his strength. The crowd below the arena was shocked by the scene in front of them, and many of them stood up from their seats. However, the most surprising thing was yet to come. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a cold smile, and an even more powerful aura erupted from his body. This aura instantly overpowered He Chao, who was at the second level of the elemental opening realm. What? In the next moment, the sharp spear light stirred up a storm. Boom! Along with a loud explosion, the golden sword shadow was directly shattered, exploding into crystal fragments that filled the sky. However, Chu Hen's attack did not decrease, and the 3-foot spear light attacked He Chao with irresistible force. Everyone's heart was startled. He Chao's expression changed greatly, and the sharp spear light was reflected in his panicked eyes. Without any time to dodge, He Chao hurriedly placed his sword in front of him, intending to block this attack. Bang! The tip of the demon Punisher's spear firmly hit the center of his opponent's sword, and a force comparable to the impact of a mountain came crashing down, breaking the sword into two. The overbearing force of the impact completely entered his opponent's body. Subsequently, under the countless eyes of the crowd below the arena, He Chao was directly sent flying. Fresh blood sprayed out of his mouth and danced in the air, forming a string of dazzling blood flowers. Bang! He Chao fell heavily on the arena, and his sternum was about to crack. His internal organs were displaced, and his body was trembling, but he could not even get up. One move, he only used one move. Humph, a piece of trash who can't even withstand one of my attacks dares to jump around in front of me? An extremely disdainful voice came out of Chu Hen's mouth, and the entire monarch arrival pavilion fell into a deathly silence. Countless people present felt as if they had been slapped hard in the face, and their minds were in chaos from the slap. Everyone was shocked, and even Ren Chong, Yang Yute, and Xu Xuero could not help but frown. Yu Qinyu, Mu Feng, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others. A few people were shocked, but they could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Yi Yao, who was in the Tifeng province area, opened her small mouth slightly, and her bright eyes were filled with surprise. In comparison, Yi Yu, who was beside her, was the complete opposite. Her pretty face was covered in a layer of frost. This kid, I haven't seen him for a month, and he has actually become so strong? Song Chunglai, who was sitting by the window on the second floor, was surprised and overjoyed. Even Shadowless, who had always been indifferent, was astonished. He is the newcomer that you personally recruited to Sky Star? Yes. Song Chunglai nodded. At this moment, he was truly happy. Back then, he was the one who had brought Chu Hen to Tensei Prefecture. As it turned out, he had made the right choice. Chu Hen was indeed a talent that could be molded. In the arena, Chu Hen had already become the center of attention. He had defeated He Chao, who was in the second level of the element opening realm, in one move. This was even more shocking than Ren Chong defeating Ling Chang of the Lingxi martial house in 3 moves. Chu Hen carried the demon Punisher spear on his back and walked towards He Chao, who was in front of him. He Chao's face was filled with fear. This feeling was like the god of death was approaching. He struggled to get up from the ground, but he was powerless. What are you trying to do? Heh! Chu Hen had an evil smile on his face, but his voice was still cold. Back at the Bright Moon Martial House, it was a grudge between you and me. If you want revenge, you can come and find me. You, on the other hand, forced your anger on an unrelated person. People like you can't even be called coward. You! He Chao clenched his teeth in hatred. Both of his hands were on the ground and he shouted fiercely, Don't you dare touch me. Otherwise, the higher-ups of the Bright Moon Martial House will not let you off. I said that today. I will make you pay for what you did to Senior Brother Housey, with interest. A cold light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes, and he thrust the demon Punisher spear in his hand. Hiss! The sound of a sharp weapon piercing through flesh made people's hearts tremble. He Chao's pupils were about to crack. The tip of the demon Punisher spear had forcefully pierced through He Chao's right palm. Together with his pierced palm, he was firmly nailed to the arena. Chapter 72. An incomparably shrill scream immediately reverberated throughout the arena. Everyone in the arena widened their eyes and felt a faint chill run down their spines. The demon Punisher spear had pierced through He Chao's right hand and nailed it to the arena. Scarlet blood spurted out and flowed happily on the ground. He Chao's body trembled and his other hand grabbed the tip of the spear in an attempt to pull it out. However, the demon Punisher spear was like a long nail that had been nailed into solid wood. It was firmly embedded in the ground, and he was unable to move. Go away, go away! He Chao's eyes were bloodshot and the veins on his forehead were bulging. The intense pain caused his face to contort. He glared angrily at Chu Hen and scolded fiercely, I will kill you, I will definitely kill you. I will cripple your arms and legs. Hiss! Before He Chao could finish speaking, Chu Hen pulled out the demon Punisher spear, and a string of blood splattered. He Chao once again let out a shrill scream. A bloody hole appeared in the palm of his right hand. Before the audience could react, the demon Punisher spear drew a shadow in the air and in the next moment, He Chao's body shook violently. His left hand had been pierced once again and was nailed to the arena. Ah, the howl that sounded like a pig being slaughtered caused everyone's faces to turn pale, and their minds to tremble. Ruthless, he was truly ruthless. Crippling He Chow's 2 hands in a row, Chu Hen's methods caused countless people's hearts to palpitate with fear. However, Chu Hen's expression was extremely calm, and he did not even blink. Looking at He Chow, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, Chu Hen's lips curled into a cold smile. I've said it before, I will make you pay for what you've done to Senior Housie with interest. You almost crippled his hands, so I'll just cripple your hands. His icy cold words caused everyone to feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. In the bright moon Marshall House, He Xian's legs were trembling uncontrollably. Back then, he and He Chow framed Housie together. Now, He Chow was lying in front of Chu Hen. If it were him, what would he do? He Xian was shocked and scared. He couldn't help but worry that after this incident, would Chu Hen settle the score with him? Tifeng Province seats. Big Brother Chu Hen. Yi Yao clenched her fists, her eyes filled with complex emotions. At this moment, the aura radiating from Chu Hen's body was abnormally cold. It was as cold as an ice blade, sharp and terrifying. In the past, when they were in Flame of Rain City, Chu Hen's aura was warm. Every time she stood with him, it would be very warm and comfortable. But now, her sister had become a stranger, and Big Brother Chu Hen was not the same as before. However, Yi Yao knew that the reason why Chu Hen had become like this was because of her sister, Yi Yu. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with frost, and her face did not look too good. Chu Hen's performance had disappointed her once again. How long had it been since they last met? Since the last time they met at the Yi family in Flame of Rain City, it had been more than 3 months. In less than 4 months, Chu Hen's strength had actually become so strong? What exactly had happened? In the midst of her shock, Yi Yu's eyes turned slightly cold, and a chill quietly surged. In the arena, He Chow, whose hands had been pierced, curled up into a ball because of the continuous attack. His face was pale, and he was in a sorry state. He did not have the slightest bit of spirit from before. Fear had long suppressed his anger, and finally, all that was left was begging. Don't kill me, humph. Chu Hen laughed coldly. With a flick of his palm, he pulled out the Demon Punisher spear again. Ah, the intense pain caused He Chow's facial features to twist together. He knelt on the ground, and tremblingly raised his 2 bloody hands. Regret and hatred mixed together, resentment, shock, and anger. Everyone secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. It was unknown whether he could recover from this injury. This time, He Chow had really paid a painful price. Even the people from the Tensei Prefecture were scared out of their wits, and they did not recover for a while. However, Chu Hen did not give He Chow another glance. His ice-cold, blade-like gaze swept towards the newcomer king of the Emperor style, Ren Chong, below the stage. He pointed the blood-stained Demon Punisher spear at his opponent from above. You get up here. You get up here. This was what Ren Chong had said to Chu Hen just now. Now, Chu Hen had returned it to him, word for word. Pointing the spear at him. Provocation, absolute provocation. To a martial cultivator, this was the greatest humiliation. Just like how Ren Chong had used his blade to humiliate Chu Hen, now, Chu Hen had returned it all. Ta! A drop of scarlet blood fell from the tip of the Demon Punisher spear to the ground. The sharp spear tip was exceptionally dazzling. The atmosphere of the entire arena froze, and the air was filled with an aura that made people's hearts palpitate. Chu Hen stood on the arena. His slender figure was as straight as the spear in his hand, and his deep eyes were as sharp as a blade. 3 feet of spear light, who could compete with it? Ren Chong's face had long since turned ashen. His tightly furrowed brows suddenly relaxed, and a fierce smile once again appeared on his face. Ha 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 ha, interesting, really interesting. I didn't think that you could give me such a big surprise. Not bad, ha ha. Who? As soon as he finished speaking, Ren Chong leaped onto the arena. A formless wave of air was released from the arena. Chu Hen and Ren Chong, who stood on both sides, were like two mountains facing each other, emitting a dreadful aura. One used 3 moves to heavily injure Ling Chong of the Spirit Rhino Martial House. The other used 1 move to defeat He Chao of the Bright Moon Academy, and crippled both of his hands. These 2 people were truly rarely seen, fierce people. He Chao was hurriedly supported down the arena by a few new geniuses of the Bright Moon Academy. The atmosphere became even quieter, and there was no longer the previous chaos. Because no one had expected that Chu Hen and Ren Chong would face each other in such a way. Who would win? It had become an unknown. But the majority of people still acknowledged Ren Chong in their hearts. Please. Ren Chong sneered, and his fierce eyes looked at Chu Hen in front of him. Chu Hen's eyes were ice cold. He held his spear with one hand and faced his opponent head-on. What? You don't dare to move? Ren Chong mocked. So what if I let you make the first move? You're courting death. Ren Chong's brows were full of killing intent, and a surging aura erupted from his body. His figure moved, and he immediately rushed towards Chu Hen. Voila! At the same time, Ren Chong raised his right hand, and a hard and cold iron chain, like a poisonous snake coming out of its hole, dragged a string of black shadows in the air, and attacked Chu Hen. At this time, a similarly vigorous true essence quickly enveloped the Demon Punisher's spear. Chu Hen raised his spear to meet the opponent's iron chain. Ding! Bang! The sharp weapons collided, and all kinds of sparks burst out in the air. The iron chain in Ren Chong's hand was like a spirit snake, and like a long whip, it struck from the side, and launched an attack with a sweeping momentum. The range of the attack was not small. Chu Hen advanced towards his opponent step by step. He understood that with Ren Chong's attack style, long-range tactics were the best. Once he got close, his advantage would be greatly reduced. It's not that easy to get close to me, Ren Chong snorted in disdain. He raised his left hand again, and another iron chain burst out. The 2 iron chains swept towards Chu Hen, one left and one right, one front and one back. The iron chain blocked the river, and he couldn't advance or retreat. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and the tip of his feet touched the ground, and he leaped up. The 2 cold iron chains swept under his body. As Chu Hen fell, he pointed the tip of the spear to the ground, and the body of the Demon Punisher's spear bent slightly. Immediately, Chu Hen's body bounced up again, and he completed a turn in midair. Then, he held the spear with both hands, and stabbed towards Ren Chong's throat. Good spear technique. Mu Feng, who was below the stage, couldn't help but praise. Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the other new students of Tensei Prefecture couldn't help but clench their fists in excitement. Everyone secretly sighed in their hearts. As expected, Chu Hen had concealed himself deeply. The wind was like a shadow, and the light from the spear was dazzling. Ren Chong's eyes reflected the incomparably sharp tip of the spear, and a disdainful smile appeared on his face. Don't be too happy too early. If you think that's all I have, then you're gravely mistaken. Swoosh! Ren Chong raised his hands, and the 2 iron chains quickly retracted. Afterwards, they crossed in front of Chu Hen, and he swung them towards him viciously. Dense true energy poured into the iron chains. In that moment, the 2 chains shone with a resplendent golden light. The light was so dazzling that it seemed like it had been dyed by the light of the sun. Feeling the powerful aura of the 2 iron chains flying towards him, a cold glint surged within Chu Hen's eyes. Chaotic body! Chu Hen cried out inside. Buzz, along with the extremely restless energy undulations, a strand of strange black light surged out of his body and quickly gathered towards the Demon Punisher's spear. The dark golden Demon Punisher's spear immediately spat out the black flames that resembled the demonic flames of the 9 underworld. The spear moved like lightning, and it was abnormally cold. The Demon Punisher's spear, which was surrounded by a black light, hit the center of the intersection of the 2 chains. Pung! An explosive sound rang out, and the chaotic power of Zhen Yuan wantonly burst out. The two chains suddenly trembled violently, and the joints of the chains intersected, making a heavy sound. Boom! The extremely tyrannical power collided with each other. Together with the might of a fierce wind, Renchong was actually forced to continuously retreat by Chu Hen's attack. The appearance of this scene once again caused everyone to reveal a look of shock on their faces. In the clash of strength, Chu Hen actually gained the upper hand. Humph! Renchong stabilized himself. His face sank and fury surged in his eyes. You bastard, I've underestimated your strength. Thank you for your praise. In order to repay your praise, I'll skin you alive today. Chu Hen took advantage of the situation and launched his next attack without any hesitation. Renchong's eyes turned cold and killing intent surged. Humph, what arrogance! Chapter 73. Rumble, a piercingly cold and surging aura blossomed on the stage. Everyone's expression changed. They saw that Renchong's sleeves once again burst out with 2 iron chains. There were a total of 4 chains that launched a fierce attack on Chu Hen. Swish! Swish! The 4 chains were like 4 agile pythons dancing up and down and changing. Renchong's hands moved extremely quickly, and his control was extremely adept. Under his control, 4 thick and strong chains, one in front and one behind, one on the left and one on the right, surrounded Chu Hen in the middle. Layers upon layers of fierce attacks dazzled people's eyes. Chu Hen was surrounded and attacked by 4 chains, but he was calm and unruffled. He did not panic in the slightest. The bloodline power of the chaotic body lingered on the demon-punishing spear like the throbbing, black flames of hell. Swish! Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind could be heard as the iron chain from the right whistled over. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and he swung his spear horizontally to receive it. Bang! The powerful forces collided, creating a shockwave of scattered true energy. As the first chain was knocked back, a second one came from the left. Chu Hen caught up with it. He raised a palm strike to the side, and the surrounding air surged out furiously. Mountain-shattering palm. Boom! Bang! The tyrannical quintessential essence power transformed into a vast and mighty shockwave that bombarded the iron chain. Rocks and dust were thrown into the air. Not only did the violent force knock the chains away, but over a dozen deep cracks even appeared on the tiles on the stage. However, before Chu Hen could even breathe a sigh of relief, the other 2 chains smashed down from above his head. The rapid rumbling of the shockwave was abnormally heavy. The 2 chains possessed tremendous force. Chu Hen did not receive it forcefully. He used the roaming dragon steps of the Big Dipper and dodged to the side. Boom! 2 chains that were flickering with golden light landed heavily on the ground. Numerous rocks flew into the air like startled moths. The chaotic and disorderly quintessential essence power wantonly leaked out, and the arena was instantly thrown into chaos. Everyone below the stage was shocked. The battle in front of him could be said to be very enjoyable. It looked as if Renchong was controlling 4 poisonous pythons to besiege Chu Hen. Although he was surrounded, Chu Hen did not panic. His defense was as smooth as flowing water, and he did not leave any openings for his opponents to exploit. Humph, I want to see how long you can last. The killing intent in Renchong's eyes grew thicker and thicker, followed by an even more powerful aura erupting from his body. In an instant, the 4 chains under his control all shone brilliantly. They were enveloped in a golden divine radiance, and they seemed like 4 pieces of divine metal. Moreover, the speed of the attack instantly doubled, and the strength of the attack also increased. Senior Brother Renchong is starting to get serious. The Soul Lock battle body is truly ever-changing. I didn't expect Senior Brother Renchong to be able to control 4 chains at such a young age. It is said that the strongest prodigy of the Ren clan can control 8 chains at once. As long as one is trapped by the Soul Lock, it is almost impossible to break through. That's right. It won't be long before Chu Hen is trapped to death. The power that Ren Chong had displayed was truly admirable to the countless people present. The speed of the four chains was incomparably fast, and they constantly attacked and chased after Chu Hen from all directions. The pressure on Chu Hen gradually increased. Just when everyone thought that Chu Hen was about to be defeated, something astonishing happened. They saw that Chu Hen's movement speed suddenly became abnormally sharp. Swish! 2 chains attacked, and Chu Hen dodged to the side. The other 2 chains followed. Chu Hen raised his demon Punisher spear and released a spear light that repelled the chains. Between attack and defense, there was no pressure at all. Everyone below the stage was astonished, but no one knew that in the depths of Chu Hen's eyes there was a demonic purple radiance surging. Just a moment ago, Chu Hen had secretly released the power of the demon pupil. Under the detection of the demon pupil, the true essence in Ren Chong's body was presented in front of Chu Hen. Chu Hen was able to determine in advance which chain would be the main attack, so he could be on guard in advance. Boom! Bang! The 4 golden chains soared like dancing dragons, dazzling the eyes and overwhelming the onlookers. The powerful impact constantly reverberated on the stage, and the stone tiles on the ground collapsed layer by layer. The spear light and shadow intersected. Every chain was extremely lethal, and deep cracks appeared and spread on the surface of the platform. In an instant, the entire stage was enveloped in a chaotic gale. Under the siege of the 4 chains, Chu Hen's figure was like a ghost, abnormally agile. A pair of demon pupil flickered with a faint purple light. While probing the defense, Chu Hen was quietly preparing a counterattack. Looking at the sparks flying on the stage, everyone in the audience could only exclaim in surprise. They were amazed at the strength of the Emperor-style newcomer King Ren Chong's soul-locked battle body, and even more amazed at the 3 feet sharp light displayed by Chu Hen. What is this person's background? How can he have such extraordinary strength? In the Imperial Martial Academy's seating area, Yang Yute held his chin with his right hand, his eyes faintly surging with bewilderment. Shu Shuero's red lips slightly opened as she softly replied, "I heard the people of Tensei Prefecture call him Chu Hen. It seems that he is the newcomer that was rejected by the 30 high-ranked martial houses." "Oh, it's him. It should be. To be rejected by so many high-ranked martial houses, he must have offended someone. Who did he offend?" Yang Yute couldn't help but narrow his eyes as he looked at Ren Chong's face full of killing intent. After pondering for a moment, he said, "I know who he offended." "Who?" Shu Shuero casually asked. Yang Yute smiled without saying a word. His gaze was filled with interest as he glanced at the Tifeng province's seating area Yiyu. Shu Shuero was slightly surprised, and her eyes also surged with a bit of understanding. Seeing that Chu Hen was not at a disadvantage under Ren Chong's continuous fierce attacks, Yiyu's face quietly showed a hint of frost. She was already unable to see through Chu Hen more and more. In the past, when she was in Flame Rain City, she was absolutely clear about Chu Hen's background. However, after what happened that night, Chu Hen disappeared for 3 months. When he appeared in front of her again, it was as if there was a layer of fog in front of Yiyu. Every time she thought that the outcome was set, Chu Hen would give her an unexpected performance. Of course, no matter what. In Yiyu's view, there was no comparison between Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan. This guy really hid his strength well. Liang Yiming shook his head with a look of amazement. No wonder Chu Hen still dared to come here even after he told him everything. It turned out that it wasn't that the other party was stupid, but that he came prepared. After being shocked, Liang Yiming also realized that he had not misjudged Chu Hen. Chu Hen was indeed worthy of befriending. In the giant elephant martial house's seating area, Yu Qinyu's mouth was slightly agape. Her beautiful eyes were filled with faint ripples of surprise. It had only been a short time since they last saw each other, but Chu Hen had already grown to such an extent. It was really unbelievable. Humph! Those pigs from the giant elephant martial house are really blind to not want such a good talent. Yu Chenyu softly scolded to herself. Rumble. The battle on the stage became increasingly intense. True essence wantonly collided with each other, and all kinds of heavy forces collided with each other. Chu Hen's demon punisher spear was incomparably sharp, and he continuously flicked 4 iron chains. Humph, if this is all you have, then I'm sorry to tell you that you will be carried off the stage. A disdainful voice came out of Rinchong's mouth. Chu Hen pushed back 2 iron chains with a palm strike, and coldly replied, Do you think you are qualified to say such words? Hee, you won't be able to be so proud soon. Hum. As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 chains instantly surrounded Chu Hen. Under Rinchong's control, the chains blossomed with an incomparably bright and dazzling golden splendor. Following that, they expanded and extended for tens of meters, rapidly rotating. In an instant, the iron chains formed a circular cage of about 5 meters in diameter. The iron chain cage spun continuously like a revolving lantern, and Chu Hen was trapped within. Other than his feet, all other directions were sealed by iron chains, including the top of his head. Let's see how you escape from my iron chain cage. A sinister and sinister smile flashed in Rinchong's eyes. Rumble. The sound was like a tide and like rolling thunder. Together with the unstoppable piercingly cold aura, the iron chain cage that trapped Chu Hen began to rapidly shrink. From afar, it looked like a rapidly shrinking golden whirlpool, and the violent wind stirred the air in all directions, and the entire arena was sent flying with sand and stones. What a powerful aura! Chu Hen is definitely finished. The Emperor-style newcomer, King, really lives up to his reputation. Seeing the golden whirlpool-like iron chain cage shrinking smaller and smaller, everyone present could not help but feel that Chu Hen was about to be defeated by Rinchong. However, at this moment, an incomparably sharp light suddenly rose from the iron chain cage. Buzz buzz. The surging black light all surged towards the demon punisher spear, and Chu Hen flew into a rage. With a wave of his arm, the demon punisher spear shot out, and more than a dozen condensed spear lights stacked together, and with the momentum of breaking the wind, it struck the iron chain cage in front of him. Boom! The force that was comparable to the impact of a mountain collided with the wall formed by the iron chains. The ground of the entire arena trembled violently. A crack was forcefully broken open by the power of the demon punisher spear. The scattered true essence was like a torrent that broke a dam, and Chu Hen borrowed the powerful force of the spear to quickly rush out of the iron chain cage. What? This guy? Everyone in the arena had a look of shock on their faces. Indeed, even an iron wall could not stop Chu Hen? Without waiting for the audience to recover from their shock, Chu Hen raised his spear and rushed towards Rinchong. Chapter 74. Boom! The surging black light quickly gathered towards the demon punisher spear. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and the demon punisher spear shot out. Waves of rolling thunder whistled through the air, and a dozen incomparably condensed spear lights overlapped together, firmly striking the wall of the iron chain cage in front of him. The power of the spear that was comparable to a flood caused the entire arena to tremble. The surging true essence was like a lake that had broken through a dam. The iron chain cage that was comparable to an iron wall was forcibly broken through by Chu Hen. This fellow, the expressions of the people below the arena greatly changed, and their eyes revealed a cautious expression. Chu Hen's battle strength was actually this tyrannical. I just said, today I will definitely slaughter you, you dog. After breaking through the golden whirlpool of iron chain cage, Chu Hen did not say anything else. He raised his spear, and a vast and fierce killing intent swept towards Rinchong. Killing intent, this was absolute killing intent. Fragmented scenes constantly flashed through Chu Hen's mind, and the words that Liang Yiming had said yesterday continuously echoed in his ears. Wei Qingfan has already instructed the Emperor-style newcomer king, Rinchong, to complete the final step in the Star Elite competition. The reason why you were framed in Flame of Rain City was because Wei Qingfan told Lu Xiao to do it. Of course, that young miss of the Yi family definitely knows about this. The reason why you were rejected by all the high-ranked martial houses in the imperial capital was only because Wei Qingfan wanted to gain Yi Yu's favor. To tell the truth, I am a little surprised that you were actually able to live until now. According to that Wei Qingfan's personality, you should have already died on some street. The words that reverberated in his mind were like a warning bell that rang in Chu Hen's heart again and again. This was like a stimulation to his soul. The anger that had been brewing in his heart had already been ignited. That cold killing intent was abnormally cold and bone-piercing. However, Ren Chong similarly did not have any leniency towards Chu Hen. Previously, he had clearly promised Wei Qingfan that he would eliminate Chu Hen forever in front of the young lady of the Yi family, Yi Yu, in the star competition. A ferocious and cold smile appeared on Ren Chong's face, and a raging killing intent soared into the sky. His eyes were filled with a sinister cold light as he glared fiercely at Chu Hen, who was attacking him from the front. His ice-cold eyes looked as if he was looking at a dead man. You should be proud to die under this move of mine. Boom! In the next moment, rich quintessential qi erupted from Ren Chong's body without any reservation. Rings of resplendent golden halos circled around his body. They were exceptionally dazzling. A strong gust of wind rose and touched the field. The new disciples of the various martial houses all revealed cautious expressions. What a powerful aura! Is senior brother Ren Chong going to use that move? If it's really that move, Chu Hen will definitely die. Sensing the power released from Ren Chong's body, most of the people present felt a sense of danger from the bottom of their hearts. Anyone could see that Ren Chong was 100% going to kill Chu Hen. Rumble! Along with the thunderous power, Ren Chong raised both of his arms. The 4 iron chains that he controlled were like soaring dragons and dancing snakes. At the same time, they emitted a dazzling golden light and intertwined with each other. The 4 hard and cold iron chains were like 4 intertwining pythons. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into an iron chain that was more than 10 meters long, and a dazzling holy light filled the air. The cold aura spread in all directions. The golden light that shrouded the iron chain immediately transformed into the phantom of a giant python. Oh my God! A cry of surprise came from the crowd below the field. The phantom of the golden python was powerful and showed the power of a ferocious beast. The 4 intertwined iron chains looked like the bones of a snake. Everyone in the room was shocked to the core. No! Yi Yao's face suddenly changed. She hurriedly said to Yi Yu beside her, "Big sister, quickly stop Ren Chong. Big brother Chu Hen will die." Quickly stop him, however. Facing Yi Yao's almost begging gaze, Yi Yu was indifferent. Her eyes were cold and her tone was indifferent. He asked for it. He can't blame anyone. Yi Yao's delicate body trembled. Tears welled up in her eyes. They knew each other in the past, but now, she didn't have any feelings for Chu Hen? Yi Yao was a little confused. Looks like it's over. Yang Yute, who was sitting in the Imperial Martial Academy's area, had a faint smile on his face. However, Shu Shuero's beautiful eyes slightly congealed. Between her beautiful brows, there was still a serious expression as she looked at the stage. She was looking forward to how Chu Hen would deal with Ren Chong's killing move. In her opinion, the final winner would still be Ren Chong. Yu Chenyu, Mu Feng, Li Hui, Zhou Lu and the others couldn't help but become nervous. They all stood up from their seats with a serious expression on their faces. He die. Ren Chong became even more furious and excited. His sinister smile made people's hearts palpitate. 4 snakes kill. Buzz, in an instant, the snake bone iron chain, which was formed by 4 intertwined iron chains, danced in the air. The phantom of the golden python that enveloped it shone brightly. Whoosh! In the next instant, the golden python drew a sharp arc in the air. Then, with the momentum of a dive, it attacked Chu Hen, who was in front of it. The incomparably powerful killing intent shocked everyone present. The surging wind attacked Chu Hen's entire body. The phantom of the giant python controlled by the 4 iron chains was like a vicious beast that came from the netherworld. Almost everyone thought that Chu Hen was about to lose his life. However, Chu Hen's face didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Buzz buzz, restless black flames covered Chu Hen's body. It was strange and demonic. Rays of vine-like black beams of light quickly extended towards the demon Punisher spear. A cold and gloomy air current pervaded the entire area. Along with a sharp and ear-piercing ghost howl, a blood-colored shadow suddenly appeared behind Chu Hen. This blood phantom was about 5 to 6 meters tall and had the outline of a skull on its surface. The berserk power constantly trembled, causing the outline of the skull to distort. That is? Everyone's expression changed once again. However, no one had the time to think or observe. The iron chains that were shrouded in the golden python phantom had already smashed towards Chu Hen with all their might. At the same time, in a split second, Chu Hen's eyes that were as deep as knives revealed an extremely cold intent. He did not hesitate to face the golden python head-on with the demon Punisher spear in his hand. Blood Shadow, Torture Kill. Gale Blood Shadow Spear. Arg! In an instant, the blood-colored skull phantom behind Chu Hen let out a sharp howl that sounded like the wail of a ghost. Hearing this sound, countless people felt their scalps go numb. Meanwhile, the demon Punisher spear that was already blooming with a blood-red light suddenly burst out with a terrifying scarlet spear light. The spear light rapidly expanded, showing the sharpness of the blood phantom's killing intent. Boom! In the next second, under the shocked gazes of nearly 10,000 pairs of eyes, the terrifying scarlet spear light collided with the giant golden python phantom. Chaotic shockwaves immediately exploded on the stage. Such a violent collision of power was like a collision between a flood that broke through a dam and a muddy stream that slid down from the belly of a mountain. Chaotic and disorderly true yuan power flowed out wantonly. Golden and red rays of light blossomed like fireworks. A powerful shockwave swept out from the stage. Rubble shattered and dust flew everywhere. With Chu Hen's feet as the center, deep cracks spread out like a spider web. However, under such a ferocious impact, Chu Hen's back was still straight and did not bend in the slightest. Hiss! What a shocking power! Are these two fellows really at the 3rd level of the element opening realm? Everyone in the audience was shocked and sighed. Their hearts were in their throat. Even Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute and Shu Shuero could not maintain their previous calmness. Big brother Chu Hen, do your best! Yi Yao clenched her fist and secretly cheered for Chu Hen. From her point of view, winning or losing did not matter at all. As long as Chu Hen was fine, everything would be fine. Buzz buzz. The confrontation between the two shocked the audience. Ren Chang's hands tightly gripped the 4 iron chains in his palms, and a steady stream of true yuan power was injected into them. He shouted, "I want to see how long you can last. Today, no one can save you." A disdainful smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. The handsome young man's face became unusually fierce. "I don't know how long I can last, but I can be sure that no one can save you today, what?" As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen moved his palm and the demon Punisher spear once again emitted a demonic red glow. Buzz! Immediately, a red spear light burst out from the tip of the spear. Boom! A heavy explosion exploded on the stage, and a chaotic halo of chi rippled out. Immediately after, countless people's hearts trembled. They saw that the 4 iron chains actually had countless extremely fine cracks spreading out. Densely packed cracks appeared on the iron chains. Ren Chang's face instantly changed. Without waiting for him to react, a bang sound exploded. The 4 iron chains, along with the golden python shadow, exploded in an instant. The golden light that filled the sky danced chaotically. The iron chains that were broken inch by inch bloomed like fireworks. "Oh my God! Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. Chu Hen actually broke Ren Chang's move. Following that, iron chain rain fell on the arena. The pieces of the iron chains were like falling petals. Swish! Suddenly, a wave of rushing wind blew over. However, Chu Hen disappeared on the spot like a ghost. Everyone only saw a string of black shadows flashing before their eyes. In the blink of an eye, an endless aura of danger immediately enveloped Ren Chong. Ren Chong's pupils constricted. His eyes, which were filled with panic, reflected the handsome but cold face of a young man. "You asked for all of this!" A cold smile appeared on the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. Hiss! Chapter 75. Hiss! In an instant, the air seemed to have frozen, and the entire monarch arrival pavilion fell into a dead silence. The sound of the sharp weapon piercing through flesh pierced everyone's eardrums. The blood that danced on the stage was bright and eye-catching. Under the tens of thousands of gazes filled with shock, Chu Hen unhesitatingly pierced the demon-punishing spear into Ren Chong's abdomen. His cold gaze and the aura emanating from Chu Hen's body caused everyone present to feel a deep chill from the bottom of their hearts. Absolute silence. Everyone below the stage widened their eyes. Mu Feng, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the rest. The new geniuses from Tensei Prefecture were all dumbfounded. That was Ren Chong, this year's king of newcomers in Tifeng Province. At this moment, even Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute and Shu Shuero couldn't help but frown. Even they had not expected such an ending. In the mammoth martial house, Yu Qinyu's mouth was slightly agape. Her jade-like hand covered her red lips, her pretty face filled with shock. Meanwhile, in Tifeng Province, Yi Yao, Yi Yu, Liang Yiming, and the rest were also completely stunned. Especially Yi Yu. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted, and her eyes were wide open. Her heart was in turmoil. Not only was the entire arena in dead silence, but even the guests on the second and third floors of the Monarch Arrival Pavilion were shocked by the scene before them. This guy, teacher Song Chunglai of Tensei Prefecture, had already stood up. He shook his head lightly, his eyes filled with shock and amazement. Even though he had always thought that Chu Hen was not bad, he never thought that he would still underestimate him. Teacher Shadowless no longer had the indifference from before on his face. Instead, it was admiration and recognition. This kid has a determined personality. He looks gentle and approachable, but he's cold and merciless towards his enemies. He's quite similar to me in this aspect. What do you mean? Song Chunglai asked with interest. Whose direct disciple is he? Shadowless asked. Don't even think about it. He works for Shilan. Oh, Shilan. Shadowless smiled helplessly. Fine. Forget about Shilan's men. I can't compete with her. Song Qinglai also laughed. Haha, but this kid has quite a personality. He's been in the hospital for a month, but he hasn't been to Shilan's martial arts lessons even once. Is that so? The entire arena was deathly silent. Chu Hen stood there with his spear in hand. The tip of the Demon Punisher spear was deeply embedded in Ren Chong's body. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from Ren Chong's wounds and mouth. His body trembled like a little bird shivering in the cold wind. Why don't you kill me? Do you have the guts? Ren Chong had some background in the imperial capital, especially since he was very close to Wei Qinfan. If Chu Hen dared to touch him, Wei Qinfan would definitely not let him off. Looking at the mocking smile on Ren Chong's face, Chu Hen's deep eyes were as cold as the icicles in the winter. Just now I really did want to kill you. Chu Hen's tone was slow and gentle, but it gave people an incomparably cold feeling. His unswerving eyes stared straight at Ren Chong's gaze. His throat lightly rolled and he faintly replied, but now I've changed my mind. I believe that making you a cripple would be much more refreshing than killing you. What? Ren Chong was shocked, and so were all the people present. As soon as he finished speaking, the Demon Punisher spear released a blinding black light. The next moment, A surging wave of hidden energy flowed from Chu Hen's palm into Ren Chong's body through the body of the Demon Punisher's spear. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded on the stage, and everyone felt as if their hearts had been hit by a heavy hammer. Under countless gazes filled with fear, a scarlet rain of blood burst out from the dantian of Ren Chong's abdomen. The hidden force that originated from the Demon Punisher's spear had instantly shattered his dantian and his major martial veins. Once the dantian was destroyed, there was no cure. Ren Chong's mocking words had caused him to be crippled for the rest of his life. An extremely mournful scream came from Ren Chong's mouth, and he directly fell to the ground. He painfully felt the splattering of blood and the rapid loss of his true energy. I don't want to be a cripple, the king of newcomers in Tifeng Province, the strongest genius among the newcomers in the imperial capital this year, all of his glory was mercilessly stripped away in an instant. Ren Chong's facial features were twisted, and the endless pain caused his entire face to become especially sinister. Looking at the scene on the stage, everyone present felt a chill run down their spines. Especially the He Chao and He Xian brothers from the Bright Moon Academy area. At this moment, they truly realized how terrifying Chu Hen was. When this fellow became ruthless, it really made people tremble with fear. However, the one with the most unsightly expression was naturally Yi Yu. She really couldn't understand why there was such a huge difference between the Chu Hen she knew in the past and the current one. The cruelty and mercilessness he had towards his enemies, as well as his powerful cultivation, who knew that Chu Hen's current achievements were all thanks to Yi Yu. Anger, pain, resentment, misery, all sorts of different negative emotions surged in Ren Chong's heart, and he continuously cursed with resentment. Chu Hen coldly looked at his opponent, and said in an especially disdainful tone, "The king of newcomers in the imperial style is only SOSO. The king of newcomers in the imperial style is only SOSO." These few simple words slapped Ren Chong's face, slapped Tifeng Province's face, and even more so, slapped the faces of countless people present. Those who had previously said that Chu Hen would definitely die had now all obediently shut their mouth. And Chu Hen didn't look at him anymore. He placed the Demon Punisher's spear on his back, turned around, and was about to leave. "Damn bastard, I'll kill you!" In his rage, Ren Chong crawled up from the ground pathetically, and with bloodthirsty eyes, he charged towards Chu Hen with a face full of resentment and unwillingness. "I'll kill you! I'll tear your body into 1,000 pieces!" Ren Chong, who was known as a genius, couldn't bear such a merciless blow. Anger had already caused him to lose his rationality. At this moment, he only had one malicious thought, and that was to kill Chu Hen. He had to kill him, but how could Ren Chong do as he wished? Just as Ren Chong was less than 2 meters behind Chu Hen, killing intent surged in Chu Hen's eyes, and the sharp tip of his spear blossomed with a dazzling cold light. "Chu Hen, stop!" Yi Yu hurriedly stood up from her seat and coldly berated. However, in the face of Yi Yu's angry rebuke, Chu Hen's movements didn't pause in the slightest. He instantly turned around, and with the sound of the air being torn apart, he mercilessly sent the Demon Punisher's spear into Ren Chong's heart. Hiss! A sharp sound once again pierced everyone's eardrums, and everyone's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. The Demon Punisher's spear, stained with fresh blood, forcibly pierced through Ren Chong's chest, and came out from his back. Blood splattered everywhere, and death filled the air. The 1-meter-long spear light pierced straight down, killing the newcomer king of Di Feng in one strike. Everyone's hearts trembled, and many people's legs were trembling. Yi Yu's face turned as white as a sheet, and her eyes trembled uncontrollably as she watched the scene unfold below the stage with a mixture of shock and anger. Ren Chong, whose heart had been pierced, was limp like mud. He hung on the tip of the Demon Punisher's spear, his lips faintly flapping, like a fish out of oxygen. His life was rapidly draining away. His gradually dimming eyes looked powerlessly at Chu Hen, and finally, fear and unwillingness were permanently fixed on his face. Dead. The newcomer king of Di Feng had been killed by Chu Hen just like that. Shock filled everyone's hearts. Especially Manager Yao and the others in the audience area. They were so scared that their faces had turned white. Although this wasn't the first time a student had died in the Star Elite competition, the one who had died this time was Rin Chong. How were they going to explain this to Tifeng Province? How were they going to explain this to the Rin family? You actually dared to kill him. Yi Yu's hands were tightly clenched together, her knuckles faintly turning white. Buzz! Suddenly, Chu Hen's gaze turned to Yi Yu, a sharp glint in his eyes. With a slight movement of his arm, he directly lifted Ren Chang's corpse off the ground. Miss Yi. Chu Hen coldly looked at Yi Yu, his voice even colder than his eyes. The reason I, Chu Hen, am able to have what I have today, is all thanks to you, Miss Yi. The debt that you and that person owe me, I, Chu Hen, will repay it with interest. Please tell that person. Today is just the interest. One day, I, Chu Hen, will pierce this cold spear into his throat. Today is just the interest. One day, I, Chu Hen, will pierce this cold spear into his throat. His ice-cold and heavy words were like a tsunami that battered the hearts of everyone present. Countless people present trembled in submission under Chu Hen's 3-feet-long spear. Yi Yu still had anger in her eyes as she stared at the other party. Remember, I'll add one last sentence. The current you, Miss Yi, is nothing in my eyes. Chu Hen's voice was cold as he said. Bang! Ren Chang's corpse heavily fell to the ground. Chu Hen's merciless gaze directly fell on Yi Yu's body through the distance of several dozen meters. Yi Yu's delicate body violently trembled, her expression changing again and again. At this moment, she clearly saw a fierce hatred in Chu Hen's eyes. This kind of gaze was something that Chu Hen had never shown to her before. In the past, when they were in Flaming Rain City, his gaze had always been warm. But now it was completely different. As for the so-called him, there was no need to think to know that it was Wei Qingfan. Did Chu Hen already know of Wei Qingfan's existence? He also knew everything that had happened in the past. Who had told him? Yi Yu couldn't help but tremble. It was because of anger, but also because of faint fear. One day, I, Chu Hen, will pierce this cold spear into his throat. Chapter 76. The night wind was bleak, and the air was cold and solemn. A gentle night breeze blew over, and there was a bone-piercing coldness to it. On the arena, Chu Hen stood with the demon Punisher spear on his back, displaying his youthful arrogance. A drop of scarlet blood flowed down the tip of the spear, and the 3-foot-long spear light was sharp and dazzling. Ren Chang's corpse lay quietly not far away, and his eyes were wide open, without any signs of life. The newcomer king of Di Feng had been killed by Chu Hen with a single strike of his spear. And the words that Chu Hen had just said to Yi Yu had once again shocked the hearts of everyone present. I, Chu Hen, am able to have what I have today, all thanks to you, Miss Yi. The debt that that person owes me, I will repay it in full, with interest. In my eyes, you, Miss Yi, are nothing. Today, I am only collecting some interest. One day, I, Chu Hen, will definitely stab this cold spear into his throat. Every word was like a needle, as sharp as a knife, piercing straight into Yi Yu's heart. Everyone felt an indescribable chill in their hearts, and Yi Yu's expression became extremely ugly. Her delicate body trembled, and she was both shocked and angry. Chu Hen's words were like a resounding slap, landing heavily on her face. However, Yi Yao, who was standing beside Yi Yu, was also feeling very uncomfortable. She had never imagined that the relationship between her sister and Chu Hen would become like this. But Yi Yao was also very clear that this was all caused by her sister, Yi Yu. Chu Hen had not deliberately caused trouble, and all he had done was to collect a debt. But the more it was like this, the more worried Yi Yao was. She was really afraid that one day, Yi Yu would point her sword at Chu Hen, and Chu Hen would not hesitate to point his demon Punisher spear at Yi Yu. In a private room by the window on the 3rd floor of Jun Lai Pavilion, Wei Qingfan's face was already extremely gloomy and livid. This Chu Hen was actually declaring war on him. Despicable bastard. Wei Qingfan's icy cold eyes surged with dense killing intent. At this moment, if it wasn't for the fact that the situation didn't allow it, he would have already charged down and killed that detestable bastard on the spot. This is the 9th rank of the Meridian Opening Realm you spoke of? Wei Qingfan coldly asked Wei Han. Wei Han's expression changed and he hurriedly said, "It's this subordinate's fault. I really didn't expect his strength to rise so quickly." Humph! Wei Qingfan snorted coldly, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Above and below the arena, after a moment of dead silence, the atmosphere gradually became noisy. The first to cheer were naturally the new students of Tensei Prefecture. Mu Feng, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others all raised their arms and cheered loudly. Senior Brother Chu Hen is mighty. Senior Brother Chu Hen is good. First place in the Sharp Star competition. First place. Haha, Tensei Prefecture has finally taken first place. Cheers filled the entire arena. After so many years, Tensei Prefecture had finally been able to hold its head high. The new students of other high-ranked martial houses only remained silent. Many people's gazes subconsciously swept towards the two geniuses of Imperial Martial Academy, Yang Yute and Shu Shuero. Humph! An indifferent smile appeared on Yang Yute's face. Shortly after, he stood up from his seat. However, Shu Shuero slightly extended her hand to stop him. "What?" Yang Yute asked, still puzzled. "Forget it." Shu Shuero's voice was gentle, but there was a deeper meaning in her tone. "Haha." Yang Yute laughed, then shook his head. "First place will always belong to Imperial Martial Academy. No one can take it away." A frivolous arrogance surged in Yang Yute's eyes, then he directly headed towards the arena. The competition hasn't ended yet. You've already decided that you're first?" A mocking voice immediately caused the cheers of Tensei Prefecture to stop. Shortly after, everyone's gazes swept towards Yang Yute. Imperial Martial Academy finally can't help but make a move. I heard that Yang Yute's strength is comparable to Rin Chong's, but Rin Chong died at the hands of Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen's true yuan must be almost exhausted. Yang Yute is waiting for him to exhaust himself. Who do you think will win? The situation on the arena was very clear. Chu Hen had consecutively defeated He Chao and killed Rin Chong. Everyone knew that his true yuan power must have been consumed to the point where there was not much left. If Yang Yute were to make a move at this time, it could be said that he had a 90% chance of winning against Chu Hen. After working so hard for so long, in the end, it was all for someone else's benefit. F***CK. That guy from Imperial Martial Academy, don't you have any shame? Are you trying to take advantage of him? Mu Feng directly opened the door and scolded. That's right. You didn't go up earlier and waited until now to make a move. It's obvious that you're taking advantage of him. Yang Yute did not take the Tensei Prefecture's dissatisfaction to heart at all. He walked up the arena leisurely and looked at Chu Hen with a playful gaze. He said with a faint smile, "There's no such thing as absolute fairness in this world. Junior Brother Chu Hen, don't you think so?" "I agree," Chu Hen replied calmly. "Looking at you, Junior Brother, it seems like you're not planning to give up your position as Star Elite's first?" To Yang Yute, the reason he came here today was to obtain the position of first newcomer. It was not necessary for him to fight Chu Hen. It was fine if Chu Hen knew he had to retreat. However, Chu Hen did not seem to have any intention of stepping down. His deep and determined gaze passed through the distance of more than 10 meters and met Yang Yute's gaze calmly. "If you can get rid of the disdain in your eyes, I can give up the position of Star Elite's first to you." The moment these words left his mouth, the people below the arena could not help but feel a little restless. Just like what Chu Hen had said, from the moment he went up the arena, Yang Yute had a playful expression on his face. In other words, Yang Yute did not respect his opponent, even if it was Chu Hen who had killed Di Feng's newcomer king in public. Especially the provocative look in his opponent's eyes, it made Chu Hen very unhappy. Haha, I'm sorry, but that's just how I am. Not only did Yang Yute not restrain himself, but the playful smile on his face became even wider. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, however, I advise you to bear with it. Even if you have the ability to kill Rinchong, I, Yang Yute, won't put you in my eyes. It was a blatant provocation. A cold and formless wave of air spread out from the arena. Many people below the arena were slightly surprised. This was the pride that belonged to Yang Yute, the pride that belonged to one of the two newcomer kings of Imperial Martial Academy. Yang Yute had the qualifications to be arrogant, because in his eyes, Chu Hen was not the only one who could defeat Rinchong. He could as well. Everyone below the arena had different feelings. The most obvious were the people from Tensei Prefecture, Yu Chenyu and the others. As for Yi Yu, who had already calmed down, her face was slightly cold. She hoped to see Chu Hen lose all face in Yang Yute's hands. A sharp aura flowed out from Yang Yute's body. All the newcomers and genius students present had to retreat when they stood in front of him. However, Chu Hen did not. His expression was calmer than expected. Bear with it? Chu Hen smiled. His smile was natural and relaxed. He shook his head and said, bear with it. I only choose to bear with those who are temporarily stronger than me. You don't have the qualifications for me to bear with it. A merciless counterattack. Chu Hen's youthful arrogance once again caused people to exclaim in admiration. Yang Yute's eyes immediately turned cold. The smile that rose from the corner of his mouth contained a tinge of viciousness. Very good. Today, I want to see exactly what qualifications you have to speak such arrogant words. If you think that you have the ability to speak such nonsense in front of me after killing Rinchong, then you are gravely mistaken. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, a surge of true origin surged out from Yang Yute's body. Everyone could clearly feel that the true origin surrounding Yang Yute's body was actually stronger than Rinchong's. Streaks of fiery red true origin power lingered on his arms, like spiritual snakes coiling around him. The people below the arena were secretly shocked. This Yang Yute was indeed not someone to be trifled with. In this way, Chu Hen was truly in danger. I hope you can still say such shameless words later. Swish. Before his voice died away, Yang Yute directly unleashed a piercingly cold and surging aura towards Chu Hen. The surging aura was like an attack from a ferocious beast. A violent gust of wind swept up sand and pebbles. Many people in the front row below the arena had their faces scratched by the fine grains of sand, causing a faint prickling sensation. Many people began to worry about Chu Hen's fate when they saw how powerful Yang Yute was. However, there were also many who rejoiced in his misfortune and secretly laughed at his arrogance. He was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, yet he still dared to provoke Yang Yute. What was the difference between this and courting death? In an instant, Yang Yute arrived in front of Chu Hen. The red true origin surrounding his arm set off a violent energy wave. Chu Hen sneered disdainfully. Before Yang Yute's attack could reach him, an incomparably cold ice chi erupted from Chu Hen's body without any warning. What? The hearts of everyone present were shocked. The cold ice chi was extremely domineering. The temperature in the arena instantly became abnormally cold. A thick layer of frost immediately spread on the arena between Chu Hen and Yang Yute. Yang Yute, who was being attacked by the domineering ice mystic cold energy, shivered. The cold chi could actually ignore his defense. Like a bone-piercing icicle, it directly invaded the major meridians in his body. Not only did the circulation of his true origin become slower, even the movements of his hands and feet became sluggish. You! Yang Yute turned pale with fright. He was secretly shocked. I've said it before. You are not qualified for me to endure. Whoosh. Chapter 77. You! Yang Yute's eyes widened as he turned pale with fright. Under the countless shocked gazes of the audience, an incomparably domineering and eerie aura suddenly erupted from Chu Hen's body. The incomparably domineering mysterious ice aura rushed out from the divine moon like a silver stream and surged toward Yang Yute, who was caught off guard. The temperature in the arena suddenly plummeted. With Chu Hen at the center, the temperature dropped to freezing point. The stage between the two was instantly covered with a thick layer of frost. This mysterious ice aura originated from the power of the ice moon demonic wolf's spiritual origin liquid, the king of beasts. After being refined by Chu Hen, he could already integrate it into his true yuan and use it. Although it was worlds apart from the true power of a king of beasts, it was still not something that Yang Yute, who was only at the third stage of the element opening stage, could easily withstand. The domineering mysterious ice aura directly poured into Yang Yute's 8 extraordinary meridians. At the same time that the circulation of his true essence slowed down, even his movement became a bit sluggish. Heh! A playful smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. He raised the demon-punishing spear in his hand and swept it forward. I've said it before, you don't have the right to make me endure. The rapid wind-breaking momentum was unusually forceful. The demon-punishing spear dragged a series of afterimages in the air. It was menacing and unusually ruthless. Yang Yute's expression changed drastically. He hastily crossed his arms in front of his body. Bang! The abnormally ferocious collision of power caused the space to tremble. The body of the demon-punishing spear solidly swept across Yang Yute's arms, and the scattered quintessential energy immediately exploded on the stage. Yang Yute, who had forcefully withstood this attack, suddenly trembled, and the red quintessential energy wrapped around his arms quickly dissipated. You! Yang Yute turned pale with fright and anger at the same time. However, Chu Hen did not give Yang Yute any chance to regain his composure. He raised the demon-punishing spear once again and landed it heavily on Yang Yute's chest. Boom! A cloud of dust rose into the air. A large piece of cloth on Yang Yute's chest was ripped to shreds. His sternum was on the verge of cracking, his internal organs were displaced, and his qi and blood were surging. A salty taste filled his heart. Yang Yute was sent flying backward by the tyrannical impact. What? Everyone's expression changed drastically, and they couldn't help but stand up. Imperial Martial Academy's Shu Shuero could not help but clench her jade-like hands, her eyes filled with surprise. Yu Qinyu, Mu Feng, Zhou Lu, Li Hui, and the others were even more shocked, their faces filled with disbelief. Buzz! In the next moment, before everyone could recover from their shock, Chu Hen once again raised the demon-punishing spear. The black primordial essence quickly climbed up the body of the spear, and from afar, it looked like a dancing flame. Yang Yute's pupils constricted and his face turned pale. He was extremely panicked, but at this moment it was already too late, and the other party was powerless to resist. Bang! The heavy muffled sound caused everyone's heartstrings to tremble. The demon-punishing spear that was surrounded by black light landed on Yang Yute's body for the third time. A ring of violent energy exploded on the stage, and everyone's eyes constricted violently. Yang Yute's chest caved in, his sternum was shattered, and his internal organs were trembling. A large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and the intense pain caused his eyes to crack and his blood vessels to burst. Bang! After 3 consecutive fierce attacks, Yang Yute was blasted down from the battle arena. He fell heavily on the ground, and a large cloud of dust was raised. The entire place was silent, and everyone was dumbfounded at the scene in front of them. Yang Yute, who was lying on the ground, was unable to move. He was in a sorry state, and blood was constantly flowing out of his mouth. He did not have the slightest bit of arrogance from before. No one had expected such an outcome. In less than 3 rounds, Yang Yute, who was so arrogant just a moment ago, was defeated so miserably. Although he did not lose his life, The degree of humiliation he suffered was not any better than Rin Chong's. You! Yang Yute glared at Chu Hen, who was on the stage with resentment in his eyes. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly and he said calmly, "I'm sorry, Senior Brother Yang. I didn't control my strength, and my attack was a little too heavy." Hearing this, the people below the stage could not help but twitch the corners of their mouth. This Chu Hen was obviously doing it on purpose. Yang Yute's anger surged, and he directly spat out a mouthful of blood. His vision darkened and he lost consciousness. Something unexpected happened in an instant. Looking at Yang Yute, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, this was obviously a great mockery. Immediately after, Chu Hen held the spear in his right hand and placed it behind his back. His eyes that were as deep as a blade swept across the surroundings, and he shouted in a deep voice, "Who else dares to fight me? Who else dares to fight me?" The heavy voice was transmitted to everyone's ears, and it was like a surging wave pounding against their eardrums. Everyone's expressions changed again, and their gazes towards Chu Hen were filled with reverence. One was Rin Chong and the other was Yang Yute. One was the rookie king of Imperial Style, and the other was the joint first place of Imperial Martial Academy. One was killed in front of everyone, and the other was heavily injured and unconscious. At this moment, who else dared to ascend the stage? Everyone's gazes turned towards the other first-place newcomer of Imperial Martial Academy, Shu Shuero. As far as the eye could see, she was the only one left who had the strength to compete with Chu Hen. Shu Shuero's beautiful eyes surged with a complicated light. She lightly let out a breath and stood up. The Star Elite competition has ended. Imperial Martial Academy will take its leave. What? Everyone was slightly astonished. If that was the case, then Shu Shuero had chosen to give up. Immediately after, under Shu Shuero's lead, the Imperial Martial Academy's team took the lead and left. Several students carried the unconscious Yang Yute on their shoulders and brought him away. Spirit Rhino Martial House will take its leave here. Bright Moon Martial House will take its leave first. The vast and mighty team started to leave, and the commotion below the stage became noisy and chaotic. On the side of Tensei Prefecture, excited cheers once again exploded out. "Haha, Senior Brother Chu Hen is mighty. Senior Brother is too awesome, good job." After so many years, Tensei Prefecture has once again seized the first place in the Star Elite competition. Mu Feng, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the other new students of Tensei Prefecture directly rushed onto the stage, surrounding Chu Hen in the middle. "Haha, not bad. As expected of the second handsome under heaven, that's only inferior to this handsome Feng." Mu Feng patted Chu Hen's shoulder and said with a slight complacency, "Senior Brother Chu Hen, I knew you would be able to make our Tensei Prefecture proud." Li Hui said excitedly. When everyone had just arrived, they were all dejected like frosted eggplants, listless. Now, all of their faces were filled with shock. Giant Elephant Martial House's Yu Chenyu also went up to the stage to congratulate him. "Congratulations, I thought I would be able to catch up to you after not seeing you for 2 months. Chu Hen smiled slightly. "I was just lucky." "TSK, that's not luck." Yu Chenyu pouted unhappily and then asked, "By the way, are you really not going back to Giant Elephant Martial House with me?" "Thank you for your kindness, but I'm fine staying in Heavenly Star." Thinking back to a month ago, Chu Hen was rejected by all the high-ranked martial houses in the Imperial City, and only Tensei Prefecture took him in. Logically, Chu Hen would not leave Heavenly Star and join Giant Elephant Martial House. "Alright then. Let's keep in touch in the future. I'm getting more and more interested in you," Yu Chenyu said with a faint smile. Her bright eyes and white teeth made her look elegant and charming. Chu Hen nodded with a smile. The people from the various academies dispersed one after another. A few people from Tifeng Province helplessly left with Ren Chang's corpse. This time, the most famous Huang Wu and Di Feng had suffered an abnormally bitter defeat. Yu looked at Chu Hen, who was happily chatting with Yu Chenyu on the stage. Her expression became rather complicated, and a faint coldness surged in her eyes. Yi Yao also hesitated below the stage. She wanted to say a few words to Chu Hen, but she couldn't muster up the courage to do so. Little Yao, Yi Yu said coldly. Yi Yao clenched her small hands and looked at Yi Yu timidly. In the end, she anxiously followed the group from Tifeng province and left. Very quickly, the genius students from the various high-ranked martial houses had mostly left. After a simple chat with Chu Hen, Yu Chenyu also followed the group from the giant elephant martial house back. Senior brother Chu Hen, let's go too, Li Hui said. Chu Hen nodded his head. At this time, a gentle voice came from below the stage. Chu Hen. Chu Hen was especially familiar with this voice. His heart lit up, and he turned around, only to see a slender and elegant girl standing below the stage. Her ice-cold temperament was noble, but not arrogant. It was especially charming. Big Sister, Wow, Long Xuan, Mu Feng, Li Hui, and the rest's exclamations directly drowned out Chu Hen's voice. At the same time, the surrounding people looked at Chu Hen with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Just now it was Yu Chenyu, and now it was Long Xuan. How did Chu Hen know so many beauties? Long Xuan lightly nodded her head as a signal. You guys go back first. Chu Hen turned around and said to the group from Tensei Prefecture. That. Mu Feng put on a shameless face and said, hee that. Little Scar, little handsome Scar, can you bring me along? Looking at Mu Feng's vulgar smile, Chu Hen was both angry and amused. He had the urge to slap Mu Feng's face. You better stay away from me, or else I'll make your handsome face miserable. Mu Feng swallowed his saliva, and his small eyes were full of disdain. TSK, if you don't want to bring me, then don't. Why are you so fierce? I'm scared to the point of peeing. Go wash my underwear. Black lines appeared on everyone's faces, and they all consciously distanced themselves from Mu Feng. On the third floor of Monarch Arrival Pavilion. Chapter 78. The Star Elite competition had finally come to an end. The result was something that no one had expected. The one who seized first place was not Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute, Shu Shuero, and it was not even Emperor Wind Martial House's Rin Chong. No one had expected that the Heavenly Star Martial House, which had been at the bottom for several years, would actually have such a strong rebound and seize first place in this year's Elite Stars competition. What was even more unexpected was that the person who first killed He Chao and then injured Yang Yute was actually Chu Hen. 2 months ago, Chu Hen had been rejected by a total of 27 high-ranked martial houses. Even Imperial Wind, Giant Elephant, Bright Moon, and so on, the academies didn't even give Chu Hen a reason to reject him. The nameless pawn that no one had paid attention to back then had slapped the faces of all the high-ranked martial houses in the imperial capital today. Tonight was going to be a sleepless night for countless people, especially the high-ranking teachers of Tifeng province. When they saw Ren Chang's corpse being carried back, their faces would turn ashen from anger. On a bustling street that was brightly lit, the place was bustling with noise and excitement. Chu Hen and Long Xuan walked side by side. One was handsome and valiant, while the other was elegant and otherworldly. They attracted the gazes of passers-by from time to time. In Chu Hen's memory, he rarely walked side by side with Long Xuan. He remembered that when he was young, he would always follow behind Long Xuan, and Long Xuan seemed to be annoyed with Chu Hen and would never bring him out to play. She even said that if Chu Hen continued to follow her, she would beat him up. It scared Chu Hen so much that he stayed far away from her. Every time that happened, Long Qingyang would speak up for Chu Hen and criticize Long Xuan. Thinking of the past, Long Xuan couldn't help but feel a little dazed. The little fellow who used to follow her around every day had grown to such an extent. The last time they met was more than half a year ago. However, Long Xuan did not stay at home for too long that time, and the two of them communicated less and less. Now that they were walking together, they didn't know what to say. "I'll take you back to the Bright Moon School," Chu Hen said. Long Xuanxuang nodded and did not refuse. "Are you used to living in Tensei Prefecture?" "It's pretty good." Chu Hen smiled. In fact, he had only been in Tensei Prefecture for a few days. At that time, I was still in seclusion, so I didn't know what happened in the imperial capital that month. Long Xuanxuang's tone revealed a faint hint of apology. "It doesn't matter. Big Brother has already told me. I haven't even had the time to congratulate you for upgrading your bloodline boundary to War Body." Long Xuanxuang smiled faintly and shook her head. Long Qingyang left in a hurry too. If he had sent someone to inform me before he left, so many things wouldn't have happened. Long Xuanxuang had always called Long Qingyang by his name. She had never called him Big Brother. This was something that Chu Hen knew as well. You can't blame Big Brother for this. He didn't know that so many things would happen. By the way, why hasn't Big Brother returned from Tianqi Mountains? Did he say how long he'll be gone for? Long Xuanxuang asked. 2 months at most. Is that so? That's strange. Long Xuanxuang frowned slightly, a hint of confusion in her eyes. Chu Hen more or less knew a little about the Heaven Lake mountain range. It was one of the most dangerous places in the Sacred Star Dynasty. It was said that not only were there many powerful beasts, but there were also some isolated human tribes that had taken root there. There were many dangerous places in Tianqi Mountains, and there were many resources that could be obtained by humans. Exotic plants, spiritual springs, immortal fruits. There were countless precious items. It was much more dangerous than the boneless mountain range that Chu Hen had been to previously. Thinking to there, Chu Hen's face couldn't help but show some worry. "Don't worry." Long Xuanxuang could tell what Chu Hen was thinking. Her red lips parted slightly as she said gently, "Long Qingyang's direct mentor is Yushan. He has a strong cultivation base and is very intelligent. He is one of the top mentors in the capital city. With him leading the team, Long Qingyang will be fine." Hearing the other party's words, the cloud of doubt on Chu Hen's face slowly dispersed. I understand. Do you still want to return to the Bright Moon Academy?" "I can help you," Long Xuanxuang asked. Chu Hen shook his head decisively. "No, Tensei Prefecture is fine." Long Xuanxuang did not say much. After all, they had grown up together, so she knew Chu Hen's character quite well. He was very opinionated and would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. At that time, all the academies in the martial house had rejected him. In a desperate situation, only the Heavenly Star Martial House took him in. Although Chu Hen did not say anything, he was still grateful to Tianxing. The two chatted as they walked towards the Bright Moon Academy. Long Xuanxuang was the same as before. She did not speak much, and most of the time, she would respond to whatever Chu Hen said. Fortunately, Chu Hen had gotten used to it since he was young, so it was not a big deal. About an hour later, the two arrived at the entrance of the Bright Moon Academy. And the guard at the entrance was the one who stopped Chu Hen a few days ago, and did not let him in. When he saw Chu Hen and Long Xuanxuang walking together, his eyes immediately widened. "Miss Long," Long Xuanxuang revealed a look of astonishment. Chu Hen smiled and said, "I said that Miss Long would meet me. Last time, you would rather die than inform me." This. The guard was a little incoherent. He did not think that Chu Hen and Long Xuanxuang really knew each other. Long Xuanxuang was intelligent, and naturally understood the reason behind it. It turned out that Chu Hen had come to find her last time, but was rejected by the guard. If he comes again in the future, there is no need to stop him, just let him in. "Yes, Miss Long." The guard was very polite to Long Xuanxuang. Everyone knew that Long Xuanxuang was the most favored direct disciple of Instructor Mo1. Instructor Mo1 was very prestigious among the instructors in the capital city, and was also an important core instructor in the Bright Moon Academy. I did not expect second sister to be so popular in the capital city. When I was young, I always thought that no one would want such a cold woman like her. Chu Hen muttered to himself softly. What are you talking about? No, nothing. Chu Hen smiled. Long Xuanxuang frowned slightly and said plainly, Then you should go back early. If there is anything in the future, you can look for me. All right. After a simple farewell, Chu Hen left the Bright Moon Academy and headed in the direction of the Tensei Prefecture. It was getting late and there were fewer and fewer people on the street. Other than a few of the main and bustling streets in the capital city, which were still brightly lit, the rest of the places were gradually shrouded in darkness. Whoosh! When Chu Hen walked to a street where there was no one around, a bleak night wind mixed with a bit of coldness. Suddenly, a blurry black shadow appeared a few tens of meters in front of him. The black shadow was facing Chu Hen. Under the hazy night, he could not see the appearance of the other party clearly, but he could vaguely tell that it was a skinny middle-aged man. Chu Hen frowned slightly and unconsciously slowed down his step. Who are you? Intuition told Chu Hen that the person was coming for him. Humph! I did not expect you to hide so deeply. It is simply too surprising. The deep voice was as heavy as rolling thunder, and it was especially uncomfortable to listen to. Feeling the cold murderous intent from the other party, Chu Hen quietly mobilized the power of the true core, and a surging black light wrapped around his arms. Hey, could it be that you want to fight with me? The black shadow sneered with extreme disdain. Chu Hen did not answer, but continued to release the true core, and his deep eyes surged with a thick, dignified look. Sitting and waiting for death was not Chu Hen's character, and he secretly thought of a way to retreat. Forget it. Tomorrow morning you will be found dead on the street. This time I will personally take action, and I will make sure you die without a burial place. Humph! At this moment, another deep voice suddenly came into their ears. If you want to touch the students of the Tensei Prefecture, then you will have to see if I agree or not. Get lost immediately, or I will make you die without a burial place. A violent gust of wind attacked. The hearts of Chu Hen and the black figure shook. One after another, they raised their eyes and looked over. On the roof of a house on the left side of the street, impressively, there stood a mighty and tall figure. Song City Hunt. A surprised cry came out of the black figure's mouth. Chu Hen's eyes also lit up. The person was none other than the instructor of the Tensei Prefecture, Song Chunglai. Since you know my name, why don't you get lost? Song Chunglai shouted fiercely. The black shadow's eyes hardened, and a powerful aura instantly exploded. His body moved, and he rushed toward Chu Hen at the speed of a shadow. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Chu Hen before Song Chunglai could interfere. Buzz, the surging power turned into a violent gust of wind that attacked, and the dust and sand on the ground were all sent flying. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. The face that was approaching from afar was that of an ordinary middle-aged man in his 30s. He go to hell. Fierce ethereal force covered Wei Han's palms, and his hands, which were surrounded by silver light, were like sharp knives. Wei Han's attack was so fast that it was like a bolt of lightning. Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent explosion about 2 meters in front of Chu Hen. A tall and burly figure stood in front of Chu Hen like a god of war. Starlight illuminates the heavens, Song Chunglai shouted, and in an instant, a dazzling golden holy light bloomed from his body like a scorching sun. Chaotic air currents flowed and trembled, and deep cracks appeared on the ground. Bang! There was a muffled sound, and the dazzling holy light crashed into Wei Han's body like a tidal wave. The latter let out a loud cry and was sent flying before crashing heavily onto the ground. What? Chapter 79. Demon Lion Song Chunglai, you live up to your reputation. I'm impressed. Wei Han clutched his chest with one hand as blood flowed continuously from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were wide open as he stared at Song Chunglai with a dark expression. Chu Hen, who was standing behind Song Chunglai, was shocked. That power just now was as powerful as a mountain, and it was difficult to move. Song Chunglai, who usually seemed gentle and cheerful, was actually so powerful. Looking at Song Chunglia's tall figure, Long Zhan's voice, smile, and fatherly warmth appeared in Chu Hen's mind. Humph! Song Chunglai stared coldly at Wei Han in front of him and shouted, "Didn't you hear what I said just now? How dare you touch a student of Tensei Prefecture?" Hee hee. Wei Han grinned and stood up shakily from the ground. Song Chunglai, we don't beat around the bush. This kid offended someone he shouldn't have offended. Even if you can protect him for a while today, he'll definitely die on the streets in the future. I advise you to be a good teacher and not meddle in this matter. These words were full of threat. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a powerful aura exploded from Song Chunglia's body, and the gravel on the ground was shaken off. Wei Han's expression changed, and he said coldly, "Song Chunglai, are you really going to go against us? Advise me to get the hell out of here before I change my mind about killing you. Otherwise, I'll make sure your blood splatters everywhere." Song Chunglia's murderous intent rose, and his eyes were cold. Wei Han clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He snorted coldly and turned around to leave. Song Chunglia's aura gradually receded after he saw Wei Han leave. "Hunter Cheng, why are you here?" Chu Hen walked up to him and asked. Song Chunglia's expression softened a little, and he let out a sigh of relief. He said, "I've been at the June Lai Pavilion the whole time. After I saw you leave with that girl from the Bright Moon Martial House, I guessed that someone would do you harm tonight. So I followed behind you, and it was just as I expected." "I see." Chu Hen couldn't help but feel warmth in his heart. He never thought that Song Chunglai would help him like this. He cupped his fist and said solemnly, "Thank you, Hunter Master Cheng. There's no need to stand on ceremony. I was the one who recruited you into Tensei Prefecture. Naturally, I don't want to see anything happen to you. However, I didn't expect that your enemy would be House Wei." Even though Song Cheng was a rough hunter, he was meticulous in his thinking. Just now, he had noticed the blazing sun pattern on Wei Han's robes. That was the symbol of House Wei. "Yes." Chu Hen nodded, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. "It's Wei Qingfan." Wei Qingfan. Song Chunglai could not help but narrow his eyes. There was a hint of seriousness between his brows. "No wonder you ran into so many obstacles in the Imperial City, and none of the high-ranked martial houses were willing to accept you. I also know a little about Wei Qingfan. He's young, but he's vicious and merciless. He would not kill anyone who had offended him in the past. Instead, he would make them suffer all kinds of humiliation and torture. Finally, he would take their lives when they completely broke down." At this point, Song Chunglai could not help but feel a little surprised. Chu Hen had actually fought with Wei Qingfan until now. Furthermore, he was relying on his own strength. "How did you offend Wei Qingfan?" "It's a long story." Chu Hen laughed bitterly. He did not want to talk about it anymore. "Of course, you don't have to worry too much. Although House Wei is powerful, they can't do whatever they want in the Imperial City. It's true that our Tensei Prefecture is no longer as glorious as it was in the past, but we will not let anyone bully us. You can stay in Tensei Prefecture with peace of mind. No one will dare to touch you," Song Chunglai said in a serious and powerful voice. Chu Hen nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Hunter Master Cheng." "Hee hee, I said you don't have to be so polite. It's getting late, let's go back to the academy." "Yes." With Song Chunglia's company, Chu Hen immediately returned to Tensei Prefecture. When Chu Hen and Song Chunglai returned to Tensei Prefecture, it was already close to midnight. Usually, the academy would be quiet at this time, but today it was very lively. Young men and women in groups of 3 to 5 were gathered together and chatting. And the topic they were talking about was the Star Elite competition that had ended not long ago. "I really didn't think that our Tensei Prefecture would be able to take first place again." "Yeah. I didn't expect it either. If I had known, I would have gone too. What's the point of saying all this now? Sigh, I didn't know that Chu Hen was so powerful. Even the Emperor-style's newcomer Rin Chong was killed by him. That scene must have been very exciting. Previously, many new students had refused to participate in the Star Elite competition because they were afraid of losing face. But when they saw the crowd return in triumph, bringing with them the shocking news of Chu Hen taking first place, the entire Tensei prefecture was in an uproar. Not only did the new students regret not going, but many of the old students also regretted not going to join in the fun. Haha, looks like you've become a celebrity that everyone knows. Song Chunglai laughed heartily. Chu Hen shook his head, a little embarrassed. Don't laugh at me, Hunter Cheng. How is it a joke? Our Tensei prefecture has been suppressed for so many years, and it's rare that we can hold our heads high today. But to be honest, you were a little too ruthless today. Song Chunglai said in a serious tone. Chu Hen didn't say anything. To be honest, he didn't regret his actions tonight at all. Chu Hen had his own reasons for being ruthless. Starting from when he was in Flame of Rain City, he was framed, his reputation was ruined, and his hands and feet were crippled. Then, he was rejected by 27 high-ranked martial houses, and then he was hunted by more than 20 assassins in the middle of the night. Until tonight, that Wei Qin fan still incited Ren Chong to kill him. Every single one of these accounts could be used as a reason for Chu Hen to kill Ren Chong. After suppressing his anger for so long, there was no way Chu Hen could continue to hold it in. Seeing that Chu Hen didn't say anything, Song Chunglai smiled and said, I was just saying. Don't take it to heart. It's getting late, you should go back and get some rest. I'll take my leave first. Chu Hen humbly cupped his fists and immediately left the other party. Watching Chu Hen's figure gradually disappear into the night, Song Chunglai let out a deep sigh of relief. This seemingly young boy had a hidden edge under his gentle face. He was usually approachable, but once his anger was ignited, it was like a bolt of lightning. No matter what, I was the one who brought you to Tensei Prefecture. I hope you can go as far as you can. A moment later, Chu Hen returned to the courtyard he lived in. The courtyard was brightly lit. Mu Feng's and Haozi's rooms were both brightly lit. Moreover, he could vaguely hear the sounds of conversation coming from Haozi's room. Those two guys aren't waiting for me, are they? Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows twitched slightly. Shortly after, he walked towards Rat's room. Hee, big bro Haozi, I didn't expect you to be so capable. Mu Feng's perverted voice was heard. From his tone, he sounded a little excited. He even called Haozi big bro. That was strange. Chu Hen was even more surprised. Hee, big bro Haozi, help me tomorrow. Let this guy crawl to the girl's feet, then I'll save the damsel in distress. What do you think? I don't think that's a good idea. Haozi replied. What's not good about it? Who knew you could control this thing? You really live up to your name. Haha. What are you guys talking about? Chu Hen directly stepped into the room. Junior bro Chu Hen, you're back. Haozi's eyes lit up. Mu Feng tilted his head and snorted in dissatisfaction. You still know to come back. Going to have fun with a beauty alone? You have no conscience. Chu Hen was about to speak, but he couldn't help but be stunned. He saw a little mouse lying on the table in front of Haozi and Mu Feng. The little mouse was different from ordinary house mice. Its fur was black and white, and a pair of round eyes stared straight at Chu Hen. This is... Junior bro Chu Hen, don't be surprised. This is a golden gnawing mouse, just a level 1 small demon beast. A level 1 small demon beast's combat power was equivalent to a level 1 channel opening realm wuxio. This seemingly small mouse actually had an amazing bite force. If one paid attention, it could instantly bite off an adult's neck. Of course, this kind of thing did not pose any threat to Chu Hen at all. Xiao, go back. Haozi let out a strange whistling sound, only to see the golden gnawing mouse turn around on the table, then jump off the table and burrow into a hole at the foot of the wall. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and revealed a look of surprise. Senior Bro Housie, you can order it? Ha. Housie scratched his head and said with some embarrassment, it's just communication, not an order. Sometimes they won't listen to me. They will only listen to me when they are friends. Making friends with a mouse. This was the first time Chu Hen saw such a novel thing. How do you have this ability? Chu Hen asked curiously. To be honest, my bloodline boundary is a mouse-shaped thing. Ha. Mu Feng couldn't help but laugh out loud. I was wondering why you were called Housie. So that's how it is. What bloodline boundary is it? Martial body or battle body? I don't know. You don't know? I used to have a low self-esteem, others called me Housie. Later on, my bloodline boundary was also a mouse, so I didn't dare to say it out loud. Slowly, people around me thought that I had a mortal body and didn't have a bloodline boundary. Housie said. Then do you mind if we call you Housie now? Chu Hen said. Housie shook his head and said with a silly smile, I don't mind, because I know that you call me Housie because we are close, not to make fun of me. I don't have a low self-esteem. Oh right, Junior Bro Chu Hen. Rat's voice paused for a moment before he continued. I heard that you obtained first place in the Star Elite competition. Congratulations. Chapter 80. In the morning, the entire Tensei Prefecture had sunk into a state of chaos. Almost everywhere one went, one could hear about last night's Star Elite competition. Amidst everyone's discussions, Chu Hen was able to become the center of attention no matter where he went. Senior brother Chu Hen, let's go quickly. Teacher Song Ching told us to go to Nebula Pavilion to get our new star points. Li Hui said excitedly to Chu Hen. Get new star points? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Teacher Song Ching said that all the new students who participated in the Star Elite competition yesterday would be able to get star point. I heard that the points this time are very high. How high? Mu Feng asked with slanted eyes. At least 1,000 star points. Oh? And the highest? Mu Feng asked as he swept a glance at Chu Hen beside him. You'll know when you get there. Nebula Pavilion. This was a rather grand and ancient building. Limestone bricks, long corridors, and pavilions, simple yet not lacking in grandeur. At this moment, on the plaza in front of Nebula Pavilion's main entrance, there was already a queue that resembled a long dragon. The people lining up were all the new students who participated in the Star Elite competition last night. There were also many people gathered around the plaza. Most of the people's faces were filled with annoyance. Sigh, I regret it to death. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to Monarch Arrival Pavilion yesterday. Who's to blame? Who told you not to go? Senior brother Li Hui begged you yesterday, but you didn't even give him a good look. Now you know how to regret it. What right do you have to say that? Didn't you not go yourself? I originally wanted to go, but none of you went, so don't give me that. You're just the pot calling the kettle black. The new students who went to the Sovereign Arrival Pavilion yesterday didn't even make up 1/10 of the total number of new students recruited by the Tensei Prefecture this year. In the eyes of everyone, a newcomer from Tensei Prefecture going to participate in the Star Genius competition was equivalent to being humiliated, and it was purely a joke to others. However, no one had expected that Chu Hen would be able to snatch first place among the newcomers. It directly allowed the Heavenly Star Martial House to vent their resentment and forcefully turned a humiliating assembly into an exciting battle to turn the situation around. As for those new students who didn't participate because they were afraid, they all began to regret it. Senior apprentice brother Chu Hen is here. An excited voice rang out and everyone turned their heads to look. They saw Chu Hen, Mu Feng, Li Huiyi, and Zhou Lu walking towards them. The resolute youth's features were sharp, and his slender figure was as straight as a spear. Many of the young girls in the surroundings couldn't help but blush when they saw Chu Hen, and a faint shyness faintly surged out from between their brows. Mu Feng flipped his hair in what he thought was a cool manner, and pretended to be elegant as he said, "There's pressure when you're handsome. Wherever you go, you'll be the center of attention. You guys are all basking in my glory." Li Huiyi and Zhou Lu secretly shook their heads and sighed, cursing in their hearts. Shameless. Senior apprentice brother Chu Hen, senior apprentice brother Mu Feng, you've come. A gentle-looking young man walked over from the front of the line and said in an especially courteous manner, "Senior apprentice brothers, please go first." The people lining up at the entrance of Nebula Pavilion all consciously opened up a path. "Many thanks." Chu Hen smiled and didn't refuse. After all, there were 40 to 50 people in front of him, and he didn't know how long he would have to wait in line. Moreover, if Chu Hen wanted to line up at the back, no one would be willing to. As Chu Hen, who had led the people of Tensei Prefecture to wash away their shame yesterday, this little bit of preferential treatment was still necessary. Immediately, under the envious gazes of the surrounding people, Chu Hen, Mu Feng, and the other two were the first to enter Nebula Pavilion. They saw that the furnishings and decorations inside the pavilion were all very simple and unadorned, giving off a solemn and strict feeling. A rectangular stone platform was set up several meters in front of them. The stone platform was taller than a person's chest, and it was built with extremely sturdy dark-colored granite. Next to the stone platform was a passageway that led to the interior. Looking up, there were rows of counters set up in an orderly manner inside the loft. On top of those counters, all kinds of items were neatly arranged, such as scrolls, porcelain bottles, weapons, and so on, all kinds of valuable items. In the capital, every high-ranking martial house had an extremely rich collection. Among them, the 5 great academies, Imperial Martial, Imperial Wind, Bright Moon, Giant Elephant, and Spirit Rhino, had the most. A good high-ranking martial house attracted people not only because of the outstanding team of instructors, but also because of the resources that the martial house provided to its students. Wu Xiu's path was full of dangers and difficulties. Among them, the indispensable resources were martial techniques and cultivation methods, supplies of crystals, defensive weapons, and pills. These things, at this moment, were all displayed in front of Chu Hen and the others. Holy shit, it can't be. There's not even a guard at the door? Aren't they afraid of being robbed? Mu Feng looked around at the empty floor, rubbed his nose, and casually walked towards the passageway in front of him. "Senior brother Mu Feng, don't go in." Li Hui hurriedly called out to him. "What? I'm just going in to take a look. No one is allowed to pass the counter without permission. The person guarding this place is Elder Ing." Li Hui walked to Mu Feng's side and said in a low voice, "Elder Ing has the strangest temper in the Tensei Prefecture, and he's the most difficult elder to provoke. If you dare to touch anything here under his eyes, breaking your hand would be considered a light punishment." So ruthless. Mu Feng was so shocked that he shrunk back. He looked around and said, "Where is he?" "I don't know about that, but Elder Ing knows about our every move here." Li Hui did not seem to be joking at all. He spoke very seriously. "Then why hasn't he appeared yet? Let's wait a little longer. Usually, Elder Ing would only come out at a fixed time. We probably came early. All right. It feels like I'm being stared at by someone. How disobedient." Mu Feng muttered with slight dissatisfaction. On the other hand, Chu Hen was very calm as he looked around. Then, the scene on the left wall appeared in his eyes. What's wrong? Chu Hen?" Zhou Lu asked casually. The few of them followed her gaze and saw 30 jade plaques hanging on the left wall. Each jade plaque was about the size of half a palm. The top of the jade plaques were labeled with numbers 1 to 30. Each jade tablet had a different name engraved on it. "Oh, those are the top 30 on the star ranking," Li Hui said. "Top 30? Chu Hen was a little surprised. With some curiosity, he walked forward. "Are they the strongest 30? Mu Feng asked curiously. You can think of it that way. Chu Hen's attention first fell on the first jade tablet. 2 sharp words were engraved with a swift and fierce brush strength. Ji Xian. Senior brother Ji Xian is the number 1 in the Tensei Prefecture. He's also the most talented direct disciple under teacher Shilan. But senior brother Ji Xian has been training outside for the past year, and he hasn't returned yet. Zhou Lu's red lips parted slightly as she explained. It could be seen that she had a good understanding of the situation in the Tensei Prefecture. Moreover, I heard that senior brother Ji Xian's star points have already exceeded 100,000. He's firmly ranked first even in the history of the Tensei Prefecture, Li Hui added. Over 100,000 star points. Chu Hen couldn't help but reveal an astonished expression. This was truly terrifying. Besides feeling surprised, Chu Hen was secretly surprised. That teacher Shilan deserves her reputation. She's actually able to teach such a talented student at such a young age. The few of them then looked at the second jade plaque. Xiao Yan. Senior brother Xiao Yan is teacher Song Cheng's direct disciple, and he's an extremely formidable figure. Supposedly, his star points are about to exceed 100,000, and he's left to gain experience and cultivate as well, Li Hui explained. Zhou Lu's beautiful brows raised lightly, and then she added. Senior brother Xiao Yan is a ruthless person. I remember that during the Academy martial competition last year, senior brother Xiao Yan encountered the Imperial Martial Academy's ruthless Tong Fei, and senior brother Xiao Yan risked his heavy injuries to forcefully chop off one of Tong Fei's arms. Later on, he even dragged his heavily injured body to battle the Consonance Martial House's Plum Blossom Sword, Shin Yunxi, but because his injuries were too heavy, he still lost to Shin Yunxi in the end. Plum Blossom Sword, Shin Yunxi? Chu Hen was slightly stunned when he heard these words. Shin Yunxi, these 3 words were slightly familiar, and he seemed as if he'd heard it somewhere. In next to no time, Chu Hen recalled that amongst the 3 Consonance Martial House students that chased after him in the Boneless Mountain Range, the young girl called Xian had once said that Shin Yunxi was her older brother, and she'd even said that if Chu Hen dared to touch her, Shin Yunxi would surely not let him off. Looks like he's indeed a rather troublesome figure. Chu Hen pondered inwardly. Looks like I've already imperceptibly created another potential trouble. But Chu Hen wasn't too worried. The imperial capital was so large, and there were tens of high-ranked martial houses and academies. Under the circumstances that they didn't know him, would they still be able to find him? Not to mention that Chu Hen didn't kill them under those circumstances, and it could be said to be repaying evil with good. Any reasonable person wouldn't stubbornly bite onto Chu Hen. So there was nothing to worry about in this matter. Of course, Chu Hen wasn't a person that was afraid of trouble. Bai Yue is ranked 3rd? A voice filled with astonishment came out of Mu Feng's mouth. His eyes were wide open, and there was a faint light in his eyes. Chu Hen's eyelids lifted, and he looked at the jade token behind Xiao Yan. The 3 words Bai Yue were engraved on the surface of the token. Chapter 81. Bai Yue is ranked 3rd? Along with Mu Feng's surprised voice, Chu Hen, Li Hui, and the others' gazes subconsciously swept towards the 3rd jade token. The words Bai Yue were engraved on the token. Chu Hen had never heard of the name Bai Yue before, but he had often heard Mu Feng ramble about his ultimate goal, marrying the capital's 4 beauties, the 6 pearls, and reaching the peak of life, so he had some impression of this Bai Yue. Bai Yue is Instructor Shadowless's direct disciple and one of the 6 pearls. Her talent is also extremely strong, and she entered the academy a year later than senior brother Ji Xian and senior brother Xiao Yan. She is also Instructor Shadowless's favorite disciple. Zhou Lu said slowly. In any case, those who are able to enter the top 30 of the Star Branch ranking are all extremely talented geniuses. Li Hui said as he turned his gaze towards Chu Hen and said, Senior brother Chu Hen, I believe that it won't be long before your name appears on this ranking. Li Hui's words were quite sincere, without the slightest hint of flattery. At the side, Mu Feng slanted his eyes, curled his lips and said, "It's just a star branch ranking. I can go too." Chu Hen smiled, and then roughly glanced at the extreme speed jade token at the back. He saw that He Qingyuan, Bian Hong, and Lu Yu's names were all on it. These were all instructor Shilan's direct disciples, and Chu Hen had seen them before at Maple Forest Stakes. Tap tap, suddenly, the sound of light footsteps caused them to turn their gazes away from the star branch ranking. A figure could be seen staggering towards them from the interior of Nebula Pavilion from afar. They stilled. It was a haggard, white-haired old man. His slow and unsteady steps made him seem like a candle in the wind, causing them to worry that he could fall at any moment. "Holy shit! No way! This is the Elder Ing you were talking about?" Mu Feng whispered to Li Huiyi, who was beside him. "The strictest elder. He's clearly an old man who's about to die." "Shh." Li Huiyi frowned and quickly signaled for her not to speak. The old man walked to the inside of the counter like a baby learning how to walk. He then slowly raised his head and said in a low and hoarse voice, "Next time when you're grinding for new star points, come here regularly. If you come early, you'll disturb this old man's rest." Buzz! Before he finished speaking, an invisible and peculiar power surged out from the other party's body. The hearts of Chu Hen, Mu Feng, and the others couldn't help but tremble, and a wisp of indescribable terror arose in their hearts. This feeling of fear originated from the old man's right eye. His left eye was normal, filled with the turbidity of an old man. However, his right eye was amber in color, and there was a white dot in the middle. It was strange and flickered with a sharp luster, like the eye of a goshawk. Chu Hen quickly regained his composure, cupped his fists, and said modestly and politely, "This student greets Elder Ing. We've just entered the academy, and are still unfamiliar with the rules of the academy. I hope Elder Ing can forgive us." Li Huiyi and Zhou Lu also hurriedly reacted and cupped their fists in greeting. "This student greets Elder Ing." Mu Feng stood on the spot in a daze. His eyes were dull, his expression wooden, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. No one knew what he was laughing about. "Senior brother Mu Feng, senior brother Mu Feng." Li Huiyi hurriedly and quietly pushed him. Following that, Mu Feng's body trembled, as if he had woken up from a dream. He asked with a blank expression, "What's wrong? What happened just now?" Li Huiyi and Zhou Lu looked at each other, and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. "You were like a little fool just now, and you were almost drooling," Zhou Lu said with slight disdain. "Is that so?" Mu Feng scratched his head. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed, and he secretly exclaimed in his heart. This Elder Ing was indeed not an ordinary person. He had unknowingly made Mu Feng lose his sense of self, and it was only for an instant. This was not something an ordinary person could do. This old man hates it when people speak ill of me behind my back. If I hear it again in the future, I can't guarantee that I won't fall into a cesspool while sleepwalking. Yes. As soon as these words were spoken, the corner of Mu Feng's eyes twitched, and he subconsciously hid behind Chu Hen. "Elder Ing, we have no intention of offending you. I hope that you can forgive us, and don't mind the nonsense of us juniors," Chu Hen said in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. Elder Ing looked at Chu Hen, and his expression softened slightly. "You little brat, I find you more pleasing to the eye. Let's not waste any more words, and come and refresh our star points." Their eyes lit up, and the crowd at the back of the queue also became restless. "Senior brother Chu Hen, you go first," Li Huiyi said. "Yes." Chu Hen nodded, and walked in front of the stone platform. "Name?" Elder Ing asked in a low voice, and casually took out a book. This book was the name list that Song Chunglai had sent over this morning. There was a rather detailed introduction, as well as the name list of the students that had participated in the Star Talent competition yesterday. "Chu Hen." Oh, you're the little fellow that seized the first place amongst the newcomers? A hint of faint appreciation appeared on Elder Ying's face, and he immediately took out a piece of jade that looked like an inkstone and placed it on the platform before moving it in front of Chu Hen. Inject your true origin energy into it. Yes. Chu Hen did not hesitate, and a wisp of true origin energy separated from the tip of his right hand and fused it into the jade stone. Buzz buzz, a wave of obscure fluctuations gently rippled, and the jade stone subsequently released a gentle light. Immediately after, a silver pentagram pattern faintly appeared at the top of the jade stone. Wow, it's a silver star pattern. The students at the back of the long queue were all extremely astonished, and a wave of uproar and exclamations arose. Even Li Huiyi and Zhou Lu were stunned. A silver star pattern represents 5,000 star points. Senior brother Chu Hen is really amazing, Li Huiyi said. 5,000 star points? Even Chu Hen himself was stunned? He looked at Elder Ing with a puzzled expression. The students that participated in the Star Elite competition will each obtain 1,000 star points. The contestants that go up on stage will obtain 2,000 star points. If you defeat your opponent, you will obtain 3,000 star points. Elder Ying's voice slightly paused, and then he continued, and if you help our academy seize first place, you will be bestowed with 5,000 star points. Whoosh! Inside and outside of Nebula Pavilion, an uproar uncontrollably broke out. 5,000 star points, and it had only been a month since he entered the academy, yet Chu Hen had broken the previous record for the best newcomer. Not far away, Mu Feng grinned. Hee, it seems that I can also obtain 3,000 star points. That end of lineage kick of mine was really worth it. Despicable. Zhou Lu's face flushed red and she cursed in a low voice. Keep this star inkstone for yourself. In the future, only I can help you farm new star points, Elder Ing said. Chu Hen held the star inkstone in his palm, and shockingly found that he could no longer feel the energy fluctuations within it. The star inkstone contained a strange restriction. The first time it was activated by Chu Hen himself, and after that, whenever he completed the Academy's missions, he would be able to obtain the corresponding amount of star points. At that time, he would then confirm with Elder Ing, and the latter would then complete the update. After all, these star points were the results of every student's examinations, and the Tensei Prefecture was still very strict about this. Do you need to exchange it for any resources? Elder Ing casually asked. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows lifted. He had almost forgotten that star points could be exchanged for resources provided by the Marshall House. What can 5,000 star points be exchanged for? This question actually caused Elder Ing to be startled for a moment. The handbook for new students had an exchange list. Regarding this kind of question, Elder Ing had previously directly rejected it, and told the other party to go back and look through the handbook themselves. However, this time, Elder Ing actually answered and said, 5,000 star points can be exchanged for a profound essence pill and a high-level natal opening realm martial skill. Also, starting from next month, you will be able to receive 10 middle-grade origin crystal stones every month. Profound essence pill? Chu Hen's heart lit up. This is a good thing. To Wu Xiu, who was below the core transformation stage, the profound essence pill was absolutely the best medicinal pill to assist in cultivation, as it was able to speed up the growth of Wu Xiu's true origin energy, strengthen the body, and expand the meridians. As for martial skills, Chu Hen did not lack them, not to mention it was a martial skill at the natal opening realm, so it was even less attractive. I want a profound essence pill, Chu Hen replied without hesitation. Elder Ing nodded, then with a move of his palm, a small porcelain bottle on the left counter behind him was directly sucked into his palm. If it's a martial skill, you can go to the east counter to choose it yourself. Elder Ing casually passed the small porcelain bottle to Chu Hen, and he recorded the information that Chu Hen could exchange for a profound essence pill in a thick booklet beside his hand. Chu Hen smiled as he shook his head, and he was just about to say there was no need for that when he suddenly stopped and asked, Elder, is there a martial skill related to the Ice Profound Essence Pill? A martial skill related to the Ice Profound Essence Pill. Chu Hen was precisely thinking of the Ice Profound Essence Ice Moonwolf that he could use within his body. During the battle with Imperial Martial Academy's Yang Yute, Chu Hen had fused the Ice Profound Essence with his true origin, and the results were beyond his expectations. If he were to use it in the form of a martial skill, the power would definitely increase by several times. There were many types of martial skills left behind by Senior Li Wushang, but as of now, Chu Hen had yet to find a suitable martial skill among the ones that he could cultivate. Ice Profound Essence Pill? Eldering muttered softly, then with a move of his palm, a cyan blue scroll flew out from one of the counters with a swoosh sound, and it steadily fell into his hand. You must return it within half a month at the latest. Also, you must not lend it to anyone outside of Tensei Prefecture. Elder Ying's voice was very calm, but it carried an irresistible majesty in everyone's ears. This student understands. Chu Hen replied solemnly, then under the numerous envious gazes behind him, he put away the Profound Essence Pill and the scroll into his storage ring. It's my turn. Seeing that Chu Hen had finished, Mu Feng hurriedly chuckled as he walked forward. Mu Feng's Feng, I defeated that person from the Chicken Martial House, that person, 3,000 star points, right? What can I exchange it for? Elder Ing raised his head, took out 2 things, and replied indifferently. The Star Inkstone is for you, and the Profound Essence Pill is for you. Get out of my sight immediately, or else I'll give you an extra crystal coffin. Chapter 82. The Plaza in front of Nebula Pavilion. Chu Hen wore a faint smile as he looked at Mu Feng beside him. The latter's face was filled with depression, and his body was covered in dust. This smelly old man, his ears are so sharp. Earlier, when they were looking for Elder Ing in Nebula Pavilion to farm new star points and exchange for resources, after Mu Feng had exchanged for a profound accumulation pill, he muttered with a mosquito-like voice just as he was about to leave the main entrance, Strange old man, if you want to use a coffin, you should be the one to use it first. Immediately after, there was a scream of pain, and Mu Feng was directly blasted out from inside. He fell on his back in a dog-eating shit posture. Would it kill you to speak a little less? Chu Hen was both angry and amused as he replied. Would it kill me? Mu Feng was also incredibly depressed. He rolled his eyes and laughed darkly. Smelly old man, you dare to kick me? Tell your daughter to be careful on her way home, and one day I'll let you have a grandson. Looking at Elder Ying's age, his daughter is at least 40 or 50 years old, Chu Hen replied carelessly. Mu Feng glared, and the smile on his face immediately froze. You're so nosy, this handsome Feng only likes this, can't you? Senior brother Chu Hen. At the same time, Li Hui and Zhou Lu had already come out of Nebula Pavilion. Is everything done? Chu Hen asked. Yes, senior sister Zhou Lu received an essence bone pill. I don't have enough star points, so I'll keep it for now. When I have accumulated a certain amount, I'll come back to exchange for it, Li Hui answered. Chu Hen nodded. Then let's go. Junior brother Chu Hen, something bad has happened. Just as they were about to return, a man around 18 years old hurriedly ran towards them. This person was none other than Gu Qing, who had received him on his first day in the academy. Senior brother Gu Qing, why are you in such a hurry? Chu Hen smiled. Junior brother, the emperor, people from Tifeng province have come. They said that you killed Rin Chong, and if Tensei Prefecture does not hand you over, they will not rest. Go and hide for now. Damn, so shameless. Mu Feng jumped up and scolded. Chu Hen frowned and asked solemnly, What's the situation now? Many teachers and students from the Imperial Wind Martial House have come. Now, teacher Song Cheng is mediating with them at the 7 Stars Square. I'm afraid that you'll pass by on your way back, so I came to inform you not to go. Hearing this, Li Huiyi and Zhou Lu couldn't help but change slightly. Motherf *Ker, this Emperor Wind martial house is too much of a bully. Life and death on the martial stage are up to fate, and now they're here to cause trouble? Li Hui cursed. Chu Hen's gaze slightly focused. After thinking for a while, he resolutely headed towards a certain direction. Fuck, are you tired of living? Mu Feng said. This matter started because of me. If I don't resolve it today, there will be a second and third time in the future. Since I can't hide, why should I hide and become a laughingstock? Of course, Chu Hen knew that Tensei Prefecture would not hand him over easily. Otherwise, the Academy's reputation would be tarnished. Of course, Chu Hen knew that Tensei Prefecture would not hand him over easily. Otherwise, the Academy's reputation would be tarnished. If Chu Hen hid in the dark and did not show himself, he would be laughed at as a coward. 7 Stars Plaza. At this moment, the entire square was in chaos. The situation in the square was divided into 2 factions. Both sides were facing each other, and the atmosphere was restless and hostile. Song Chunglai, if you don't hand over that bastard Chu Hen today, Tifeng Province will not let this go. The person who spoke was a middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s. His face was dark, and he glared at Song Chunglai and the Tensei Prefecture crowd in front of him. There were close to 100 people behind the middle-aged man. There were more than 10 people dressed as teachers, and the rest were students from Tifeng Province. These students also had indignant expressions. Their faces were filled with hatred and resentment. Last night, Chu Hen killed the Emperor Wind's newcomer king, Ren Chong, in front of tens of thousands of people at the Elite Stars competition. To the entire Emperor Wind martial house, this could be said to be an extraordinary shame and humiliation. Shi Hui, your Tifeng Province is too ridiculous. Song Chunglai took a few steps forward. His powerful voice was like a tidal wave. Since ancient times, life and death have been decided by fate. Today, you brought so many people to cause trouble. Aren't you looking down on our Tensei Prefecture too much? That's right. This is too outrageous. This is too much of a bully. We will never hand him over. The many teachers and students from Tensei Prefecture behind Song Chunglai rebuked him angrily. The middle-aged man called Shi Hui's face darkened even more. He said angrily, "Humph, Song Chunglai, you must give me an explanation today. Otherwise, this matter will not end here." Shi Hui's attitude was also very unyielding. He was one of the most reputable instructors in the imperial capital's many martial houses teams. The main reason was that Ren Chong, who had been killed by Chu Hen, was his direct disciple. As this year's newcomer, Ren Chong was not only at the 3rd level of the natal opening realm, but he also possessed the soul lock battle physique. Shi Hui had always valued Ren Chong's talent and potential. But who would have thought that Ren Chong would lose his life in the arena of the Star Summit 2 months after entering the academy? How could Shi Hui not be angry? How could he not be angry? How could he not be angry? Looking at the other party's attitude today, he was determined to make Song Chunglai hand over Chu Hen. To be honest, Tensei Prefecture was also sullen and angry. They were being bullied right at their doorstep. If this was in the past, which elite martial house would have dared to come knocking on their door with such a large force? But now, Tifeng Province really did not care about Tensei Prefecture at all. Thinking about it made him feel somewhat helpless. Chu Hen is here. Just as the atmosphere between the two sides was in a state of tension, an exclamation broke the current stalemate. Everyone's gaze swept towards the same direction. They saw a young, slender, and handsome figure walking towards them. Under that amiable and approachable appearance, there was a wisp of sharp light faintly emitting from it. "This fellow, he really dared to come?" Wu Zhe said coldly from the side. Even though he was also teacher Shilan's direct disciple, Wu Zhe did not look worried at all. Instead, he seemed to be taking pleasure in Ren Chong's misfortune. It was obvious that Wu Zhe was still brooding over Chu Hen knocking him off the wooden stake array a few days ago at the Maple Forest stake. Beside him stood He Qingyuan, Lu Yu, Bian Hong, and a few other direct disciples of teacher Shilan. He probably dared to come out because he knew that teacher Song Chunglai would not hand him over. Bian Hong smiled with interest. He Qingyuan and Lu Yu both frowned slightly. To be honest, both of them rather admired Chu Hen. Now that they heard someone on their side mocking him, they were more or less displeased. Seeing Chu Hen arrive with Mu Feng, Li Hui, and Zhou Lu, Song Chunglai frowned and signaled Chu Hen to come to his side with his eyes. However, Chu Hen did not do so. His gaze turned to the people of Tifeng Province, and he said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "I, Chu Hen, am here. May I ask why you have come from afar?" Shi Hui laughed coldly, and a vicious glint flashed in his eyes. "You are Chu Hen. Very well, swoosh." Before he finished speaking, Shi Hui's figure moved, and he shot out explosively. Surging essential vitality surged towards Chu Hen like a rising tide. The piercingly cold aura pressed down like a mountain, and the ferocious power made it impossible for anyone to move. Song Chunglia's expression darkened, and he charged forward without hesitation. A dazzling golden holy light bloomed like the sun, and the strong wind that was stirred up hurt everyone's face. Boom! When he was less than 2 meters away from Chu Hen, Song Chunglai successfully intercepted Shi Hui at lightning speed. The two of them fiercely bombarded each other with their palms, and the shock wave exploded in the square like a thunderstorm. The scattered quintessential energies wantonly collided with each other, and a powerful chi wave swept up the dust and leaves on the ground with a power that could sweep away 1,000 soldiers. The people on both sides were also shaken by the aftershock, and took a few steps back. "Shi Hui, you're really shameless. As a core tutor of Tifeng Province, you actually attacked a new student in public. Did you live like a dog?" Song Chunglai stood in front of Chu Hen and shouted at Shi Hui while pointing at him. After being scolded, Shi Hui's face darkened. He clenched his fists and shouted coldly, "A life for a life. It's only right and proper. This B**** killed my student, so why can't I touch him?" Song Chunglai was about to scold him again, but Chu Hen spoke first. "May I ask, is there a rule that says killing is not allowed in the Stars tournament?" According to the agreement made before the tournament, there are no specific rules in the Stars tournament. There are only winners and losers. Since there is no rule that says killing is not allowed, then what did I do wrong? Chu Hen took a step forward. His pitch-black and deep eyes flickered with a blade-like sharpness. He shouted once again, "Furthermore, Rinchong tried to kill me with every move. Could it be that only he can kill me and I can't kill him? Let me ask you, Tifeng Province, how can you distinguish right from wrong by coming here to cause trouble today?" Wow! There was a round of applause from Tensei Prefecture. "You're absolutely right, Senior Brother Chu Hen. Life and death are up to fate on the arena. There is no rule that says killing is not allowed." After being scolded by Chu Hen, Shi Hui did not know how to refute. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth angrily. However, just at this moment, from within the Emperor Wind Martial House's group, a young figure with extraordinary martial prowess walked out. Everyone present was startled, and their gazes unconsciously swept towards that person. Junior Brother Chu Hen is not only smart, but also eloquent. I really admire you. Those who have the ability to kill Rinchong must have a high cultivation level. I'm Rinwei, and I hope to learn a thing or two from Junior Brother Chu Hen. I hope Junior Brother Chu Hen can grant my wish. Chapter 83. If you have the ability to kill Rinchong, your cultivation must be high. My name is Rinwei, and I hope to learn a thing or two from Junior Chu Hen. I hope Junior will grant my wish. His light and indifferent voice caused everyone present to be startled. Everyone's gaze fell on the young man that walked out from the Emperor Wind Martial House's group. This person had a heroic spirit, but the gloominess that leaked out from between his brows made people feel especially uncomfortable. Ren Wei, like Ren Chong, was also a member of the Ren clan. The moment he walked out, the crowd from the Tensei prefecture's side immediately erupted into an uproar. F***CK, don't you have any shame? You're a 6th rank natal opening realm student, Di Feng, challenging a 3rd rank natal opening realm newbie. It seems like not only is Di Feng's teacher shameless, even his students are the same. Junior Chu Hen, don't bother with him. The Tensei prefecture united against outsiders. Due to the contribution that Chu Hen had made to the academy last night, many students were willing to protect him at this time. Furthermore, if anything happened to Chu Hen today, the Tensei prefecture's reputation would be tarnished. However, Ren Wei did not care about the scolding in front of him. He was unmoved. He stared at Chu Hen in front of him with a ruminating gaze and said with a faint smile, "No matter what, Ren Chong is still a member of my clan. If we just let him go like this, it would be really difficult. Of course, I don't want others to say that I'm bullying you. So, it's settled. As long as you can take 3 of my moves, I'll forget about today's matter. As long as you can take 3 of my moves, I'll forget about today's matter." Ren Wei's indifferent words once again caused an uproar in the crowd. It had to be said that this person was extremely arrogant. However, he had the qualifications to say such words. 6th rank of the elemental opening realm, 3 whole levels higher than Chu Hen. If all 3 moves were to be ferociously attacked with killing moves, Chu Hen simply would not have the chance to survive. The gap of 3 levels wasn't something that could be easily made up for. "Chu Hen, don't mess around," Mu Feng reminded him. Although he was usually frivolous, he was still very serious at crucial moment. It wasn't like everyone didn't know how strong a 6th rank natal opening realm martial artist was. Not to mention 3 moves, it was extremely possible for a martial artist to instantly kill a 3rd rank natal opening realm martial artist. Yeah. Senior martial brother Chu Hen, don't agree with him. Li Hui echoed. The corner of Ren Wei's mouth curled into a playful smile. With an extremely disdainful attitude, he looked at Chu Hen. "Haha, you can choose to be a tortoise hiding in its shell. But, in the future, you and I will have the chance to meet in the capital." These words were full of threat. Ren Wei's words couldn't have been clearer. Either he accepted his challenge, or he would wait until they met somewhere else in the imperial capital to settle the score. From everyone's point of view, Chu Hen seemed to have no other choice. After all, it was impossible for Chu Hen to hide in Tensei Prefecture all the time. Once he stepped out of the martial house, he might be targeted by Ren Wei. However, if he accepted the challenge, no one present believed that Chu Hen could withstand 3 moves from Ren Wei. It was still a question of die sooner or die later. Just when everyone thought that Chu Hen would refuse, a faint smile appeared on his face. "Hee, since senior martial brother Ren Wei is interested, why should I refuse? What?" As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. Did this guy want to die? Even a fool could see that Ren Wei was obviously trying to goad Chu Hen into accepting the challenge. Once Chu Hen agreed, it would be equivalent to rejecting the protection of Tensei Prefecture. If the 2 of them fought, even if Ren Wei killed Chu Hen, Tensei Prefecture would only be able to watch. "Humph, what an arrogant fool!" Wu Zhe sneered from the sidelines. "You shut up," Lu Yu replied unhappily. "No matter what, we're all direct disciples of instructor Shilan. It's fine if you can't help, but don't make sarcastic remark." "You, stop arguing," He Qingyuan shouted in a low voice. "Chu Hen, you?" Song Tringlai looked at him in confusion and asked. Chu Hen nodded slightly, indicating that there was no need to worry. "Instructor Ching, this happened because of me. If I can solve it, it'll be for the best." Chu Hen paused and turned to look at his instructor from Tifeng Province, Shi Hui. "But I have to confirm if I can take 3 moves from him. If I do, the people from Tifeng province will leave immediately and never cause trouble for me again. Shi Hui sneered and turned to look at the frivolous Ren Wei. He answered without hesitation, "That's right. If that's the case, then don't talk nonsense. Make your move," Chu Hen said calmly. Song Chunglai wanted to say more, but when he saw Chu Hen's calm expression, he chose to believe him. After all, from the very beginning, Song Chunglai had always felt that Chu Hen was not as simple as he seemed. Immediately, the crowd from both sides retreated. There was a large enough space in the middle of the square. "Go, senior brother Chu Hen. I believe you can do it. Senior brother Ren Wei, kill him and avenge senior brother Ren Chong. Senior brother Ren Chong died such an unjust death. We must make him pay." The crowd from Tensei Prefecture and Tifeng Province was boiling with cheers. In comparison, the crowd from Tifeng Province looked disdainful. They knew how strong Ren Wei was. He could take Chu Hen's life in 3 moves. Sigh, senior brother Chu Hen, why did he agree to that guy's request? Li Hui, who was standing outside the square, said worriedly. Mu Feng crossed his arms in front of him and narrowed his eyes. Based on that guy's personality, he would only agree to this if he was confident. But Ren Wei is at the 6th level of the element opening realm. There's nothing we can do. Since he already agreed, let's just stand aside and watch. In the middle of the square, Chu Hen and Ren Wei were about 10 meters apart. Both of them exuded a cold and solemn aura. Chu Hen's body was ramrod straight, and his back was as straight as a spear. There was not the slightest ripple in his calm eyes. Ren Wei's face was filled with a playful smile. Within this smile, there was a strong murderous intent. I didn't expect you to accept the challenge. Isn't that what you wanted? Not only did Chu Hen not show the slightest hint of fear, there was even a hint of relaxation on his face. I hope you can still laugh later. Buzz, as soon as he finished speaking, Ren Wei raised both of his hands, accompanied by the sound of metal chains colliding, for metal chains that were as thick as an arm shot out from Ren Wei's sleeves like agile snake. Strong winds danced wildly, and the air currents filled the air. The 4 metal chains were surrounded by a golden luster. Under Ren Wei's control, they rose into the air. From afar, they looked like the tentacles of an octopus. The crowd from Tensei Prefecture was secretly shocked by Ren Wei's 4 metal chains. Sensing the aura emitted from Ren Wei's body, they could not help but worry for Chu Hen. Speaking of which, where did these metal chains come from? Mu Feng revealed a puzzled expression as he asked Li Hui and Zhou Lu who were beside him. I was puzzled last night. How did he hide such long metal chains on his body? Senior brother Mu Feng, there's something you don't know. Li Hui, who knew the inside story, explained. The Ren family specially created an item called a lock. This lock is a special tool made from the principle of a storage ring. It's convenient to carry around. The metal chains are placed in the lock, and they can release the length of the metal chains according to their own need. So that's how it is. In other words, the lock is hidden in Ren Wei's sleeves. That's right. It's easier to control it if it's hidden there. Li Hui nodded in confirmation. He then said, however, if the Ren family's soul lock battle body is cultivated to the extreme, they can directly use the power of the bloodline boundary to create the soul lock spirit. At that time, they can directly use the soul lock spirit to replace the metal chains. Not only can they control it more flexibly, but their lethality is also like heaven and earth. F***ck, how do you know so much? Mu Feng said. Li Hui smiled embarrassedly. Well, I've liked to collect this kind of knowledge since I was young. Therefore, I've learned about the bloodline boundary of many famous people in the Imperial City. I'm full. Mu Feng replied and turned his attention to the front again. Buzz buzz. The clearly visible true essence lingered on the 4 metal chains in front of Ren Wei. The dazzling golden luster seemed to have been soaked in the holy light of the sun, making them look like 4 divine metal chains. At this moment, Song Chunglai, He Qingyuan, Lu Yu, and many other people from the Tensei prefecture all had serious expressions on their faces. Chu Hen stood calmly in front of his opponent, unmoving like a mountain. Not even the fluctuation of true essence could be felt. He, trying to play psychological warfare with me? Unfortunately, I don't fall for it. Along with Ren Wei's disdainful sneer, the surging aura of a level 6 natal opening realm exploded from his body like a mountain torrent. The 4 metal chains instantly grew to over 10 meters long, and with an incomparably fierce and powerful force, they ruthlessly smashed towards Chu Hen in front of him. Whoosh, the rapid wind-breaking sound was like the roar of a ghost. The 4 golden metal chains were like the giant swinging tail of the snake demon, powerful and extremely destructive. The biting cold aura shook the airflow in all directions. In front of everyone's eyes, 4 black shadows shot down. Facing the 4 metal chains coming down from above, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. He immediately mobilized his true essence, and quickly gathered it at his feet. In an instant, both of Chu Hen's legs were wrapped in a dense black light. Whoosh! When the metal chains whizzed towards him, Chu Hen immediately used the Big Dipper roaming dragon steps and dashed backwards at the speed of the 7 stars. Boom! In the next instant, the 4 golden chains heavily smashed onto the place where Chu Hen was a second ago. The ground shook, rocks flew everywhere,